Cleveland Moto Podcast number 348. Hey. There we go.
Wow,
that was a bit of a
intro.
false start.
That's the first time we've had an actual crack, though, in a long time.
Yeah. It's because I decided to drink a beer. I don't normally do that. Although drinking...
It's a seltzer?
The Rheingeist bubbles. This shit, it is literally rose ale. It tastes like champagne. Mm-hmm. It tastes like pink champagne.
Okay.
It's apple, peach, and cranberry. So these
sounds pretty good.
I think we ripped through about 27 of these at the Denver rally.
Denver, yeah. Oh, that's why
because
look familiar.
Dan Hostick.
Yeah.
I pronounced your name right, Dan. Dan Hostick was giving these away to us hard at Mid-Ohio.
Yeah. No, I got addicted to the Mathlete.
Yes,
because it's a lower alcohol IPA. Yeah.
And so these things are just fucking great. These Rheingeist bubbles, and again, it is hilarious because it's like a bright, dry, and live rosé ale with apple, peach, and cranberry for tartness and blush. Bubbles erupts with effervescence and evanescence.
Where you drink champagne and it tastes just like bubbles.
When you blow bubbles, he erupts in effervescence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gonna spend all night blowing bubbles. Hi, my name's
Hey, baby,
Bubbles.
can you put that in your mouth?
There was actually a kid in high school. He was a big,
Right.
dark-skinned athlete.
Yeah.
His name was
Bubbles.
There was all kinds of
Again, it's just a Trailer Park Boys thing for me. It just it will do that for me forever.
Hey, you want to blow bubbles?
Right. Yeah. Yep. That's how it works.
Yeah. Where are they? Right.
Hey, right here, this guy.
This guy. All right. So I'm
And
sure
he matured. He became that guy that turned into the light switch.
Oh man. Wow, it didn't take us long, did it?
Yep.
No, it didn't. It was pretty much right out the chute, as they say. So to my left,
Oscar?
and to his left,
Steve Sleepy.
and his left,
Dan Kromke.
and
Chris Franklin.
triumphant return of Chris Franklin, and
Johnny Mac.
Johnny Mac, your humble narrator, Phil Waters. It's funny because, we look at the clock on the wall and we go, well, it's, October 21st. It's getting pretty late in the game. Today was fucking crazy at the shop. And it wasn't like a sunny day. It wasn't like, oh, get your yayas out because it's a beautiful day. Last night I rode home on a ZX14R. I have now gotten that motorcycle up to 181 miles per hour. Personal best.
Well done.
Nice.
At 181 miles an hour, the car that was very far in front of me was no longer very far in front of me. And that's
Really
why
fast.
that's why I had to slow down, because I'm not the kind of guy who's going to pass a car at 100 mile per hour speed variance.
I did. So when I had my R1, I think I talked about this before. I did the same thing. I hit 181 indicated, so maybe 170, whatever it is down there.
Right.
But same thing. I was like, oh, look at that car.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm letting off now.
And I mean, I tend to do this very late at night.
Yeah.
I tend to do this out west of where I live. The road is fucking flat. It's beautiful. You're tax-paying
And
dollars
if you hit
hard at
something,
work.
you didn't know it was there, so you don't even know you're
You don't even know
Yeah.
you don't even know it's over.
No.
Right. The last thing you get to the pearly gates and dude, St. Peter, 181.
Come on.
And the best part is he goes, hey, look, your body's still flying.
It's still good.
The last thing through your head is your ass.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So did I bump the speed governor or what? And so yeah, you're right. And I mean, I do this now. Yeah, look again. Nobody listens to this podcast to learn how to be a better person. No. Nobody's ever listened to this podcast and went, you know what?
Are you saying it's
I'm
not?
going to
It's
rethink
not,
my life.
It's not Tony Robbins.
It is none
It's
of the
not
above.
thing and Cleveland Moto
man.
Podcast.
No, if we're your moral compass, you're lost.
This is not a self-help. This
No.
is an enabler.
In fact, what this really is it's like the Jerry Springer show. It just makes you feel better about you.
Hey guys, hey listeners,
Steve.
you guys can do it.
Hey, listener. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we'd like to thank our listener. It is. So the experience last night, it was a little chilly. So it was, 65 degrees or whatnot. Now, for the podcast, listen, not that this matters. I was fully geared, right? I'm fully geared.
Because that matters at 180.
At 180 miles an hour. It doesn't. It doesn't.
On the road, sorry, because on the track it does matter. But on the road, on the road.
But
It'll be easier to shovel you up.
It'll hold everything in a bag for you.
Right. So are we going to reset his bones? No. We're just going to wire right into the neck.
Yeah.
Just leave the head in the helmet, and he'll just be one of those heads in a jar. but we can still do podcast.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Won't slow us down at all.
I will volunteer to sprinkle the food.
Sprinkle the food into my jar. Exactly. Yeah, right. So
Hey, a little splash of rum.
big party time.
He's gonna have to move to clear liquor so it doesn't fog.
Right, so it doesn't fog up the jar.
It burns my eyes.
Totally worth it.
So good.
So it was very funny that, so I'm ripping along, and this time because I've done this in steps, right? I've done this in stages. I didn't just I did 140, I did 150, I did 165. So those things were all known entities and all on the same piece of road so that there was no surprises, right? And
I love how he's clarifying this.
Just to make sure, in case anybody at home wants to do it and they don't have their own private airstrip or they don't have their own Bonneville Salt Flats or whatever.
Being reckless or anything.
Reckless.
This was
Come on.
very professional, very empirical.
Well, and I'd like
only
to
for
remind
scientific purposes.
everyone that this was on a closed course and that medical personnel were standing by.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have seen that every Thursday we close down the range.
We close down the range.
Yeah, so it's not a problem.
All those bikes are going 35, right? Yeah. If they're going 75 past our podcast, that's literally a set. That's that's all been cleared with the city. But it was funny. So I looked down at 175 and I was like, well, this is fine. Because 175 was my test.
Yeah.
So 175 was my test. And I was like, any anomalies, anything odd, we'll just back away. Because we know that 165 was fine. Right. So I did the 175 and the 175 was fine. And so I was like, okay, there's nothing ahead of me. So nothing ahead of me, line of sight is wonderful. So giddy up. So I gave it a little wick and I gave it a little bump. And as soon as I got from 175 to 181, that's when I could see the taillights ahead of me. And it was like, whoa,
that's coming fast.
That's far. When the taillights show up, that's a mile away. And that was like, I shut it down and backed out to, 100 miles an hour or whatever. And I was on them.
Yep.
Just in the time it took me to naturally, because I knew you don't want to hit the brakes at 180 miles an hour.
Now, were you rocking the new windscreen?
I was.
And how did that help a lot?
That's what I wanted to talk about. So I had the Zero G. This is the blue Ninja, the ZX14R. Yeah. So it has the Kaufman's exhaust, and it has no alterations that I can determine to the ECU. I believe the ECU is factory, not modified. I have not hit a 186 speed limiter, so I don't know if it's been unlocked or not. Yep. Doesn't matter. Irrational, right? But what I can tell you is that the adding of that tallest zero gravity bubble, so the tallest zero gravity bubble and the taking off of the GV tank pack. So I took the tank bag off so I could get down on the tank. And I should bring it
down, get funky.
Oh, I got funky. And what I can tell you is the stability is just amazing. So there's no shaking. There's no vibration. There's nothing that's untoward. There was more vibration. There was more head shake on the Vitpillen at 90 miles an hour than there was on this thing at 180 miles per hour.
Well, I think the fairings are designed to do that. I think the wind is causing.
I think you're absolutely
like an airplane
right.
wing. It's
It is pushing. It's putting pressure in all the right places. And then with no tank bag on it, I was able to get down into a better position, which then I was able to keep both hands on the bars. I didn't have to prop my chin up due to the tank bag being there and causing me to be an unnatural angle anyway. So it really did make a big difference. And as you know, 181 is my personal fastest I've ever been on a motorcycle.
Nice. It's fast.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking fast.
I think if you really wanted to get lower, I think a lot of the racers, what they do is they do stretches. Yeah. So the day that you can blow yourself is the day that you can get lower.
So it's a win-win, right?
Win-win. Again, that's another thing that happens at the point of impact. Yeah, at the point of impact, you just well, look, I blew myself. Right.
And you're really loose and happy. And you're like, fuck it, I'll go 180.
I feel like that's a yes, no moment.
It's funny because that windshield, that zero gravity shield, if you want to look up the screen behind you, what has happened with the zero G windshield on there is you can see how much steeper the zero G windshield is on the front of the bike than what would have been the original shield, which doesn't really stick up at all. But I don't feel like now this is not a double bubble. This is just one curved piece of Lexan. But what I can tell you is nothing weird, like no instability, no nothing. But that higher piece of plexiglass on the bike really does make the bike a lot nicer to ride at, regular speeds, 85, 95 miles per hour. So that's a really nice change. If you're going to have something stupid like this, that little, $65 or $100 windshield or whatever that is, not a bad idea.
Yeah, I want to get one for my Z900 really bad. I think I just need an extra couple inches and it'll smooth out the highway riding.
Absolutely.
Well, and my grandfather, right? I mean, he got a little fly shield, I think they were called, slightly little rounded thing. I mean, I laughed at him because, it couldn't have been more than maybe 1.25 foot, 1.5 foot, and made all the difference in the world. It just takes the wind off your chest, right? And great.
Yep.
Oh, that's
what guy doesn't need an extra couple inches,
Exactly. Everybody wants an extra couple of inches.
So just to give you a little insight about how ridiculously bad this thing is. So during that conversation, I just had an idea that I think we have to do.
Okay.
So do you remember, like last year, we had the Evel Knievel stunt cycle?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah?
So I've been thinking about this, right? And so we all have, at least most of us have those pit bull stands, right? And Phil, you get a lot of bikes that kind of run, but you might not be able to sell them that aren't very good.
Oh, no.
So all we need is a dummy and go out to the compound, and we have a full-scale
Evel Knievel bike?
that we rev up
the motorcycle in gear.
On the pit bull
put a mannequin
stand.
on it.
Yep.
On a pit bull stand. Put the throttle at like 75, 80 RPM, 80 mile per hour.
Yeah.
And then just kick it off the stand.
Yeah. And we'll videotape the whole thing.
And it'll just run into the
many
woods.
times.
We'll have 6 cameras set up.
Yes.
The bike will magically hit 4 cameramen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And burst into flames.
1 in a million shot, Doc.
I think that's going to be a we have to do that.
He's going to look like Super Dave, right? You got to do the
I
white
was just
costume.
going to say,
That's it.
yeah.
Complete Super Dave.
Love Super Dave. I'm sorry. That's the best thing
I
ever.
think we all do.
I feel like at some point you're going to need like a rope on it to kill it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't just like.
Well, that's why its rundown area can only be a heavily wooded area.
Yeah.
So that one of the
Well,
10,000
if it goes
trees.
straight back and it's going to go off the cliff into the creek.
Right. That's a lot of work getting it back.
We could also, if you do it at the right time, just send it down the road. There's no cars.
Oh, my God. Oh, shit. And you know what? I've seen that video, the stunting video where the guy's stunting on a 959.
Yeah.
And he just totally ends up off the bike.
Oh, and it
keeps going.
And the bike just goes.
So you're saying light it on fire Halloween night and send it into Oberlin.
Well, you already know they got enough fire
With a
engines, it's
headless
fine.
horseman.
Right.
Dude,
yeah, we
yeah.
do know that they love to respond to a fire. Yeah. They fucking take
They won't
great
even
thrills out of
even
that.
find us doing it, and Steve will still get a letter.
Exactly.
It's your fucking
What
bike,
was
man.
the pond at the plant that one guy wanted to try to ride across?
The lagoon.
We can super Dave that.
Yeah. Oh man. That like the whole idea of that one video where the guy's sport bike just continues fucking off. And it just continues so beautifully.
Yeah, because the throttle's locked.
Because the throttle's on.
Yeah.
So the throttle's on and the bike is just going. And like it's on an airstrip.
And it's got a not steering stabilizer, so
and
it's not.
it bounces off the wall at the airstrip. It bounces off the safety wall a couple of 4 times.
Yep.
And just goes right back into track. And then leaves the airstrip. And by then, people are in trucks and cars and shit and motorcycles chasing it down. And I'm like, you can't stop it. It has had the one problem in its life it ever had, which was the human being asshole on the back of it. It's been removed. It's now free. It's going to live its life forever. We'll catch it the next time it circles the earth, you know? They're going to be like people going like,
Moto piercer.
yes, we will. We're going to pull up next to it and do a hot refuel. We're never stopping this bike. Yep.
Did you ever hear the theory that that's actually the aftermath of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
Oh, the Snowpiercer?
Yeah,
Really?
It's a fucking.
I'd
it's a
like to
pretty
see the
deep-
tie-in on that
It's
one.
a deep dive on it, man.
Yeah, that's-
And it's the Oompa Loompas turned into fucking other things and all. It's fucking
Oh my
nuts,
God.
man.
Well,
See,
that's,
they-
yeah.
Throttle lock is so I really would love cruise control.
Yeah,
Right.
right,
Again,
yeah.
480 is what I live on. Right.
Yep.
To and from work, so on and so forth. I would love, but that is what scares the shit out of me.
Oh, yeah?
Something happened to me, and it just
keeps
keeps
going.
fucking going. And who else is it going to kill besides me?
My wife and I have had several unscheduled departures from our equipment while racing motorcycles. And invariably, I don't know how this is, the odds are disproportionate that the motorcycle falls over, hits the throttle side grip.
Especially on
Locks
the
it.
best vintage.
Anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had it happen on SV. And it hits that hits the ground. And when that hits the ground, the throttle is now in that position for the rest of time.
Yeah.
Right? Because until you break it and take it apart, it's now jammed up. And I've had the thing where my motorcycle was laying on its side doing the curly shuffle. And it's just, and I'm just like, fuck it. I'm not going to get in there. No. This is ridiculous. Just fucking hit it with something else. And
it'll run out of gas.
Yeah. And when Merritt's got jammed up, when her throttle got stuck, the bike had the courtesy to die. Right. But so then Merritt, in the rage of battle, like she just was like, fuck corner worker. I'm getting on and I'll bump start it. No Kickstarters. So Merritt's a hero. She's going to bump start the fucking thing. Throttle's pin wide open. It would have been the shortest ride of her life. Throttle wide open, second gear, onto the racetrack.
I was in Florida filming Stunt Wars in like 2003, somewhere around there. So
I really wish that show was more of what you think it would be.
No. This was an actual just like
I'm thinking full night riders jousting shit.
No, this was stunt riders. Like it was like in the Fast and the Furious.
I know what it is.
Yeah. So anyways, we're filming all this shit and this dude came out and his name was Teach or something like that. I think he was a teacher, but he also did stunt riding. And it was when the full 905 cages started to cover the whole bike. So they were able to do stuff like lay the bike down and like spin the back tire and get it up and stuff. So the one thing was to surf on the bike, let it like lay over, get on the cage, hit the throttle, and then it would spin and they do it. But it was also the time when Janko jeans were super fucking popular, right? So this dude started to go fast, and he leaned back, and the throttle stuck wide open, and the bike started to fucking go fast.
And it grabbed his pants, didn't it?
And it grabbed the stunt cage grabbed the fucking bottom of his pants. He went flying and then didn't stop. So now he was a pendulum just getting swung around by the fucking bike.
All because Timmy had to have raver pants.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Help me. Somebody, please. Get me off of the bike.
Yeah, because racing leathers have never been bell bottoms, ever.
No.
Right. There's a reason for that.
Well, and that's the thing. Do you remember Todd Colbert?
Yes, absolutely.
So he was like one of the first guys sponsored, but he was like a professional, whatever. Right. He kind of followed the Europeans. Like he would wear gear and stuff. Oh, yeah. And everybody made fun of him for wearing gear.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of gear, I really like that shirt. It's pretty cool.
You like this? Yeah,
Gear fab, man.
There's a company. I don't know if you guys. This is going to be a deep dive for our fucking our people that are. Typeface nerds and all of our people that like do decoupage and all kinds of arts and crafts. There's a company called Beistel. So Beistel or Beastel. And they were the company that started in like 1919 in Germany and then moved over to America. And if you remember when you were a kid that mom would bust out the Halloween decorations and they were like pieces of cardboard, looked like they came out of a cereal box and they were hanging on the wall and it'd be like a cat.
Oh, yeah.
And it'd be like a black cat and a witch and stuff like that. All that shit was Beistel. So that art style, what you see on here, that's a particular style. And so because I grew up with that, it has strong,
So for people listening, how would you describe that?
My shirt is literally a bunch of Halloween, what do you call those? Icons? They're a little icon, and they're like, I will tell your fortune. And it's basically like what shitty Halloween cards were when we were a kid. Yep.
And it's a very slimming look.
All in a shirt, right? Oh, yeah. This is like pumpkin camouflage. Right. Yeah, it is pumpkin camouflage. But I bought, I think 3 or 4 of these shirts. They're made of diesel. So you feel that. You can't smoke in the same room with this shit. Like, it is made of diesel. Yeah. And like when they showed up, I was like, I got a ton of Aloha shirts. I've got a ton of Tiki shirts and stuff like that. And for the price of these things, it was like 3 shirts for $39 or something. I was like, this is going to be hot garbage. Yep. But what I thought was fun is they lined the pocket up. So like on really nice Aloha shirts, the art on the pocket should line up with the print of the pattern of the shirt.
Right. Holy shit.
And for a shirt that is, for all intents and purposes, as disposable as Tyvek, they did a good job of lining up the pocket so that it's literally on target.
Well, did it come from overseas?
Oh yeah.
So that's what. So I got my when B was smaller, I had to have some cop was like, yes, you're allowed to, but we'd like to see you have a seatbelt or whatever they fucking call it, like where you wear the strap and it goes around the kid. So I ordered one. Of course, it came from overseas. Right. And they put that shit in formaldehyde so it doesn't get the fucking moss.
Right. So the animals don't eat it.
Yeah. But it takes like 2 months to be able to touch the thing. I'm sure your shirts were like just.
When I took this thing
outgassing.
When I took this thing out of the package, wrinkly was not the word for it. It looked like my nutsack on a very cold morning. Right. I took it out of the package and I was like, this wouldn't fit a child, right? And so, yeah, it's like, okay, well, the question is, you're like, okay, well, I know I got to put it in the dryer,
right?
Which means I know I got to get it wet. And I'm pretty sure somewhere on this it says, do not get wet, do not put in dryer, do not feed after midnight.
Right.
It has to be all on this shirt because this shirt is not safe to even wear. But anyway,
hang it in the shower. You got to hang it in the shower.
So that's kind of what I did. But it is funny because I decided this year, because we can't go to Theater Bazaar. So I've decided to turn up the Halloween around here at the shop. So everybody that has the internet is now aware that Moto E, the least watched form of GP racing.
Right.
When we were at the Isle of Man, there was a remarkable amount of excitement at the Isle of Man for the electric motorcycles. In fact, I'm running around the Isle of Man wearing a Zero electric jacket, and people were like, fuck yeah, man. Well, because at the Isle of Man, their electric class is called Zero.
Zero.
Right. It's the Zero class, right? Moto Zero. And so Zero didn't pay for that.
No, it's zero emissions probably or something. Yeah.
Right. And so Zero didn't pay for that, but it is just held and it's just called the Zero class. And the bikes that win are the Mugen Hondas, and those are the
Zero
bikes.
CCs.
And there's Zero CCs and everything else, right? And so there's an interesting amount of people that are like
zero interest.
and that's that. And the first 10 times they ran it, it was like, so you guys want to see the Motos, the Zero bike, electric bike ride? And they're like, if I'm looking that way when it happens, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess we'll watch it because the beer lines are too long.
Right.
So,
and so there is this point at the Isle of Man where they're like, okay, schedule, ... But because the electric bikes do one lap, not 5 laps or whatever, they do one lap. And honestly, not all of them make it. It's 37 miles at 200 miles an hour. So you're not all going to make it.
No eco mode going on.
No, not at all. Right? No, and you can just smell the ozone when they go by. Like you might as well. That's what a nuclear carrier smells like if it was in your bedroom. Like a nuclear submarine at full chat in your bedroom is what these things smell like when they go by. Wow. You can just taste the electrons in the air.
They only have like 3 companies. They have the Mugen. They have the Zero. And some university.
Some university
design.
Really no Angericas or any of that shit?
No, nothing.
That was it.
That was
So it was like the Mugen, the Honda ones, they went by and we were in a very good spot. So the spot we were to watch, we were as close as you could get to the road surface. And when those went by, it was like, and you're like, fuck, that was kind of cool. And then the second one would go by, and you're like, that was really fucking cool. And then it would be like a couple more, and then like the Zero would come by, and the Zero would be like, oh, here it comes, and it wasn't a surprise.
Yeah.
And it would, because it's going half the speed of the other ones, right? Yeah. And so the Zero would go by and be like, and you're like, okay, cool. And then the university bike would come by and it'd be like, baseball card in the spokes.
And then the kid that John just saw outside fucking on the stand-up scooter.
There's definitely a new class of stand-up scooter running
You got
around.
a chance, right?
Yeah, these guys are running with traffic. At least he had a helmet on, like a dirt bike helmet on and stuff. But
so Moto E, brought up on the screen for you. So Moto E is part of the Moto GP circuit. It's part of the Moto GP calendar, right? And for the past several years, Moto E has been, you can run any bike you want to run as long as it's an Energica Ego. You see where I'm coming from? Right. So that all the bikes that are in Moto E have one thing in common, and they're all Energica Egos.
Sure.
Now they're all a million sponsors, and they're the real deal, right? And I've ridden an Energica Ego. That is some serious shit. Not screwing around. I mean, like, this is a very serious motorcycle. It goes really fucking fast, and I'm not trying to take anything away from it. It's fucking freaky fast. Okay. Now, keep in mind that a few years ago, 2019, there was a fire. And there was a fire that took place in a garage where every single Moto E bike for the entire racing circuit, 11 teams, 18 drivers, okay? 18 bikes. All of these bikes are at the Jerez circuit in Spain, and they're all in the garage, and a motherfucking fire broke out. Oh, no. Now, lithium is not great in a fire. It's just not. And whether it was caught on fire by a diesel generator that was running too hard, trying to power all these things because they don't have an on-site power station. So they had to bring that in, right? Whatever it was. But whatever it was, these things all went up.
The fire's probably still going.
It might still be going. It might
yeah.
still be going. But so they all went up, and it was just the whole thing. It was a massive, massive loss. I mean, it was a big deal. Now today, and why I'm bringing this up, is that today announced apparently to the planet through the planet notification system, Ducati. And I'm like, hold on. Can somebody count the number of electric motorcycles Ducati has had?
Hey, let me think about that. What comes after zero?
0 times 0. Zero squared.
Right.
Zero squared. So electric has never, or Ducati has never had an electric motorcycle. But the statement that they made this morning was like, hold my beer. I'm going to say some shit. And you're not going to be able to say dick. So it is officially that Energica is no longer the official, and I use the term, the official single manufacturer of the Moto E series.
That's crazy though.
That now the single manufacturer of the Moto E series is Ducati. So it's not saying Ducati's bringing out a bike and they're going to put it on the track at the same time as the Energicas, because that would be what I like to call competition, and that is interesting.
Yeah.
Right. This is all Ducatis, right?
You know what's going to be fucked up, though? It's going to be electric motorcycle racing, but they're still going to have valve problems.
The Desmo electric.
And Rossi's going to come out of retirement. He won't be able to win on one of those either.
Nope.
He's like, he does not have good luck on Ducatis.
No.
So this thing is just, this news announcement is ridiculous. So if you do read between the lines, right? So Energica recently had a cash infusion, Energica electric motorcycles. They recently had a cash infusion to the tune of 30% of their company was bought by World Wrestling Foundation Phenomenon, or World Wrestling WWE Phenomenon.
I don't know what it is.
Sean McMahon.
What?
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's real. That's a real thing. So this company that is called, you guys, I'm going to say the name of the company. And you're going to think I'm making it up.
Can we laugh?
If you feel the need to.
Okay.
Are you ready for the name of the company?
Yes.
Ideanomics.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
This sounds like a name of a company that was created for a Simpsons episode.
Or Idiocracy. I think it was in Idiocracy.
Ideanomics.
Sounds like a name that was made up by a WWE wrestler.
We're turning your ideas into money. Right. The money of ideas. Ideanomics. So they've got a major stake in Energica now. All right.
Wow.
That's just announced as of like March 11th. Right. So would it be out of the question to think that maybe in the weird, strange, convoluted world of Italian motorcycle companies that Ducati, who has money and has a racing program and trailers to haul the bikes around.
And several CEOs in jail, right? From the
it's the joke is always like, it's like, hey, Ducati North America's not looking so good. Yeah. Well, where's their staff? Oh, what's the name of the prison? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Forward all their mail to San Quentin. But I did want to say, so since there was this horrible fire, this disastrous fire that wipes out all the Energicas that were at the Moto E Challenge in 2019, pre-COVID, and then we have, dealers like myself, believe it or not, you're not going to believe this. I am an Energica dealer.
I know. Look at all of them.
I know. Don't let the lack of a service department, lack of training, or lack of property fool you.
Right.
I'm it. Right. I'm the guy. I know because they keep forwarding me buyers and customers from all over the Midwest.
Oh, nice.
Oh, well, Phil's our guy in Cleveland.
Oh.
He'll be happy to deliver you one. When they exist, like when they're here, dude. I've ridden them. They're not vaporware. They're legitimately amazing bikes. But okay, so you don't have to dig too deep into the plot, or you just go to electrek.com or electrek.co, that this news today of Ducati is going to create, manage, and operate an entire racing league.
Yeah.
When the last thing that Ducati said was, and I will quote this, the Ducati CEO said, will we produce an electric Ducati soon? No. We think that for the kind of machine we produce now, an electric motorcycle cannot guarantee the pleasure, the range, the weight, etc., that Ducati riders expect. Now that statement, that bold and declarative statement, right, was probably made when, 10 years ago, 15 years ago? Mm-hmm. No, May 17th.
Oh, nice.
Right. So that whole, the CEO of Ducati, in as little as 3 months ago, his company line as the CEO was no. No. But his company line as of 9 hours ago is a bit of a 180, right? It's a bit of a spin. We couldn't be more excited. This kind of a thing. So
my question is, tomorrow, when they actually tell him that electric bike doesn't mean that it has a battery and you hit a button to start the motor, he's going to get fucking pissed off.
This thing is like, this whole thing, everything about this is just the biggest turnaround. I mean, it is as fast as the letter Harley Davidson shareholders got telling us, it's okay, settle down, don't sell your stock. We're spinning off Livewire. We're wiping all of our DNA off the corpse.
Right.
And we're spinning it off to its own thing. So it'll never be, you won't ever have to talk about electric vehicles ever again in any board meeting ever again.
So did they say that they're coming out with an electric bike out?
Who, Ducati?
Yeah.
Well, no, they've skipped coming out with a bike. They're going straight to a racing league. Mm-hmm. So they've decided rather than prototyping and having anything that resembles like starting with maybe a small bike or something else, they're just going to go straight for an entire fucking racing league.
You know what?
So it's not going to be homologation. It's not going to be a production bike or of any kind. It's just going to be a pure race
could
bike.
be just a bike.
I have a feeling it's going to be
for racing. Yeah.
Ducati's plastic on a Zero.
Oh, no, I think no. I have a better thing. I think it's going to be Ducati labels on an Energica.
Oh, maybe so.
Look, okay.
With little fins added or something.
Man, if somebody tells you that, okay, congratulations, thank you. Oh, you're buying a racing league. Well, that would be like us going out and buying a bumper car ride, right? That would be similar. You're like, oh, we bought a bumper car ride, because Cleveland Moto would do that. Yeah. We would buy a bumper car ride. We would do it. Patreon level, $5,000, you get to ride in your own bumper car.
Yeah.
So, but we would do that. But would we build our own Cleveland Moto bumper car, or would we just put Cleveland Moto stickers on an existing bumper car?
Right.
We would put Cleveland Moto stickers on an existing bumper car. Because we're not made of money, but we like to have fun.
And Energica's like, who ordered 20 bikes?
But isn't that the way it's supposed to work? That the reason people go racing is to develop technologies that will then make their way into the market.
Right.
Well, they don't have an electric bike that they're selling, but they'll build the race bike and then they'll adapt that to be able to be streetable.
So do you think that Ducati, that has zero experience with electric motorcycles,
how hard could it be? Everybody else is doing
it. But here's the thing. I like the way that Ducati has given themselves a lot of time to prototype, develop, and come out with literally a GP race bike. Because that takes years to put together a GP race bike if you start with an R1.
But that starts in what, February?
So
it depends. It depends on how much they engineer it, though. They could buy a pre-existing engine motor. Yeah. They could buy a battery from somebody.
Absolutely.
They could just go picking and then stick it all together.
Right. I'm sure it took Energica less than 14 months to go from clean sheet to a race bike. That was a lie. I'm sure it didn't. Yeah. But that's what time Ducati's given themselves, because they're going to start this thing in 2023.
Oh, 23. Okay.
So 23. Okay. So they've given themselves about 14 months. So they're going to go from a bike that does not exist anywhere that we've ever seen a picture of. Mm-hmm. And that means like EICMA shows or anything else. We haven't seen an electric Moto Compo with the Ducati sticker on it.
But does it really matter even what kind of bike they come out with if everybody's going to be riding the same bike?
Right.
Whatever they decide to build.
Exactly. Right. Red Bull Cup. Right.
I think I prefer.
They could have stand-up scooters.
I have a really strong opinion that that's what the Energicas look like.
Yeah.
I have a picture that if you could imagine that exact vehicle
in red,
but
only
all red, right? I think that's probably what you're going to see.
You know what else is kind of interesting? Like if you think about it, electric racing. So if all the bikes are the same, it would come down to team tuning and riding.
Absolutely.
So like, now all the bikes are like trying to get
even. Yeah.
Well, right now the way that Moto E is, the way that Moto E is with all these teams and everything else, because they all run the exact same equipment.
Right. Do they have tuning ability? Like, can you tweak like?
No, you start out with an Energica, so you got their software.
But I mean, do they have ability to like put Expo into the motor? So when you hit the throttle,
right? I don't think that. I think those bikes are all 100% homologated. I think those bikes are all. I think those bikes, in order to keep the thing tight and make it exciting racing, I'm pretty sure that they're probably all.
Do they have traction control? They probably have traction control.
Do they have everything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but you can set your bike up. I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm sure
your race tuner, your pit crew
you
guys.
can adjust your traction control.
Suspension and all that.
You can do a lot
That's
of that
what I'm
stuff.
saying. Yeah. Like,
Absolutely. I'm sure though that they all start as being the exact same.
it's like a radio control car. You can set your Expo, you can set your turning radius and all that kind of whatever.
That's exactly right. So
I don't know. I mean,
completely
Put them all to 11, and I will win.
Yes. Yeah. Turn everything to 11 will be fine.
Comparing Ducati and them doing this for the electric scene,
Right.
compared to what Harley Davidson did, buying a third-party company, rebadging it, making a shit show out of it, and then spinning it off. I prefer what Ducati's doing right now with
Absolutely.
this. To trying to get it out there and people getting excited about it.
Right.
And not trying to fuck people over and trying to sell something that's
They'll
not.
be fucking over, trust me.
Well, first of all, the Italians are involved. Yeah. So it's going to be dynamic. Yeah. They'll do
But at least doesn't affect the
It'll be a
customers.
very
That they're
elegant
not saying
fucking
anything.
over.
They're not selling anything for the customers right now. It's for show.
there's
So I prefer that over.
There's like 9 Italian guys in bars right now. Like, hey, I work for Ducati.
Well, and
starting
because
the electric,
Energica is, at least for the theatrics of it, Energica is backing away from it. It says, I mean, the press release said the same day that and this is another thing that you're just like, okay, man, come on. Should we at least have some shred of mystery behind this? Because the statement that kind of blows everything away is when Energica, in the same news cycle, Energica to end era as single Moto E manufacturer after 2022. So in the same news cycle, Dorna Sports announces that Energica is out and Ducati's in. Well, to me, that seems like in the game industry, they would call a reskinning. We're going to take this game and we're going to reskin it. Now it's a different game. So
some negotiation went bad. Somehow Energica asked for too much or couldn't get, and they simply had to say, fine, fuck you.
Didn't have enough money to.
We'll find somebody else.
Yeah.
And they looked, and
Or I mean, shit. Fucking running a race team's expensive as hell.
Oh, yeah.
Ask Ducati. They've been losing billions of dollars a year doing this shit for a long time. So that's something that I think could also be a real deal killer is, Energica might just sort of say.
If they own the whole league, then the money that they lose on their bike, they can get back from everybody else's
and
bike.
that's and Dorna Racing. So that's the whole thing is like this is one of those things like the Bagger Cup or the Battle of the Baggers where it's there as an attraction. It's there as a also
because have you seen so I follow all the race teams for the bagger thing just to see the amusement of it.
Yes,
and there's not even a bagger left. Right. Like they're using like GSXR forks and fucking different swing arms and brakes, and then the bags themselves have all been hollowed out and narrowed, and they're fucking carbon fiber body parts now and shit like that. It's like Jesus.
It started life as a bagger.
Yeah, right. The idea is the same. Well, it's just like if you watch NASCAR truck racing.
Yeah, right.
And there's also no front engine, rear wheel drive Toyotas in the NASCAR league.
Well, NASCAR, anything. It looks like like it was back in the days when it was a probe. It was
right.
Like,
come on, man. Are you kidding me?
You're not racing a probe.
No, you're not going to race a probe. Our
Still
buddy,
the greatest name of a car ever.
Again, always put anal in front of any. If you want to market anything ever, put the word anal in front of it.
And make sure it works.
Yeah, that's it. Because until it works with anal, you don't have my support whatsoever.
Anal Fiesta.
Again, look, all I do when I'm driving cross country is look at RVs and go, huh. Anal wanderer. Yes, you are.
Anal raptor. Or whatever.
The anal raptor. The anal tiger shark. Ooh.
I have the anal conquest.
The anal conquest. Yep. So my buddy, I got a friend named Colin Shattuck. He runs Sportique Scooters in Denver. Big love for Colin. He's fucking awesome. He runs a podcast called The South Stands. It's all about Denver football and stuff like that. So give him some love. But his buddy, Scott Dammit, that's his name, Scott Dammit. They came up. He said, we're going to move down south. We're going to open up a new NASCAR training center. We're going to call it Critical Race Theory. Our slogan, we'll turn you left fast.
Come on, man. Where is it?
That's because Chris Smith couldn't be here today. The Critical Race Theory Training Center. I was like, that's so fucking good, Colin. So thank you, Colin. That joke totally fucking got featured on Cleveland Moto. Because that shit is golden. Yes, that's a golden joke right there. And it's not offensive to anybody. Right. It's not, especially to me. And that's all that matters. So today at the podcast, everybody got a chance to look. And John didn't get a chance to really look at it. But we'll let you go look at it right now.
Would you look at that?
Would you look at that?
Look at it.
So there's a red thing you probably tripped over on your way in.
It was in the back of your pickup truck?
It was. Yep.
Was that the Jack-O-Lantern bike?
Nope.
Oh, no, that's
nope.
over.
No, that's the other one.
You can go look at it. It's not you're going to get the same information all of them got. Is that it's from 1964. And I bought it today. Okay, and I got pictures.
Gone for a while.
You're going to go look at it. It's fine. Don't be gone too long because Well, I'm going to go out and have a cigarette since I'm getting up anyway.
Well, this gives the ladies a chance to move away from the screen, and
it really does. Yeah, it really does. That's absolutely true, by the way. That does, oh my God, this will give us a chance to just fucking let my husband do something else, anything else but this. So
he really did beeline for the door.
Of course he did. Of course he did.
We know him well.
Yeah. He can't smoke in front of his family.
I think he left his hoagie out there too. So.
He did. He brought a hoagie to the podcast. I didn't tell anybody we weren't having pizza, but there is no pizza. So yeah, that's just a fact thing. But but it's really funny. But what a Facebook Watch? What the hell is this shit? The hell is this crap? What's that all about? I'm sorry. Will you not let me?
A big F.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, what the fuck is that all about? Yeah. Literally, I tried to cast it and it just put a fucking F on the screen.
You failed,
F's
dude.
in the chat.
That is a fail. That is a Facebook fail right there. Because Zuckerberg's like, nope, can't put it up on the screen. Nope. Didn't approve it.
I like somebody, how Facebook's thinking about changing their overall name?
Yeah, changing the name of their overall company. Right.
But I think they should just change CEOs, and that would be
I honestly, I don't care. I use the shit constantly. I use the fuck out of Facebook. Because it does serve an incredibly, in my family, this is the only way I communicate with members of my family. I don't have time, or I've manufactured a life where I don't feel like I have time to go visit nieces and nephews and grandparents and everything else that, and the numbers are dwindling. So, that, but anyway, I'm very much, I'm honest with myself about it. Mm-hmm. So what little thing we get, hey, it's Uncle John's birthday. Let's post a really stupid picture of him from 1969, and make everyone laugh at him for a little bit. That's fine. It shows I love him.
I think that was the original intent of it before everybody just used it to force opinions and political stuff down.
Right.
Yeah.
And in fact, with my whole thing is I am a person that has a certain number of beliefs.
Right.
If you've met me, you know that I do. Yet I've never been kicked off of Facebook. I've never been put in Facebook jail. I've never been on Facebook parole. I've never gotten a Facebook written warning. You know why? I keep it light.
Yeah, but you know what? I've been in jail twice, and neither of them were anything. It was literally
it was something.
No, it was the AI. It was the AI mistaking I was in a friendly conversation with somebody about something fun, and I'm like, oh, I hate that shit or whatever. I hate when that happens or something. But somehow that turned into hate speech.
The phrase, I'd like to murder all those cocksmokers, but it was said with love, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right, exactly. Right.
But I said it in a positive way.
Right.
And a heart emoji on it.
Yeah,
it should be fine.
I'd like to hug that fucker to death. And somehow
exactly. Right. Yeah. You didn't see the smirky emoji after that. So whatever.
Wink.
Right. Yeah. You know how I stay out of Facebook jail? Just fucking keep it light, man. Keep it light. Don't start no trouble, won't be no trouble. You know what? I like it. I'll admit it. Yeah. You want to find me? I'm on Facebook. Sure. Cool. That's That's it. I'll admit it. I'm old.
If you're really smooth, you got to find Phil's TikTok account. That's the one where it gets cranky.
My buddy,
the OnlyFans.
my buddy Pablo. When they did that, when the art museum went to OnlyFans because like their art got.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So one of the art museums got censored on Facebook.
Oh,
because they had like a fetish, a fertility doll. It's 35,000 years old.
Yeah, right.
35,000 years old. If
Somebody
I
can be
can't look at 35,000-year-old pussy, I don't want to live in this world, right? But apparently, like they put a picture up of this display, and Facebook said, "You're off." So the museum started an OnlyFans account.
That's amazing.
It's the only OnlyFans account I've ever joined.
Yeah.
All right, so you've seen it. It's up on the screen in front of us. So the bike in question is a 1964 Lambretta made by a company called Innocenti. Innocenti is an Italian company from many, many years ago. We joke all the time that Piaggio is an airplane company. Innocenti is a plumbing company. And you can tell when you look at the bikes. But the Innocenti, and this is called a special. So 1964, one of the models, if you went to your dealership, the cheapest model you could have got, this is called a Series 3. The Series 3 was called a slim style, and the slim style is because it was, you can see it's very Buck Rogers styling. The Series 1 and Series 2 that came before it were a little chunkier, right? And so they were a little more bulbous. And this Series 3, would you like me to do that for you correctly? Okay, nope, there you got it. You got it. Okay. So I'm going to tell people in this room right now that I bought this today. This thing appeared on Facebook Marketplace about 9 hours ago.
Really?
And it was on Facebook Marketplace for about 14 seconds. Mm-hmm. And then I was like,
on it.
I will give you money now in any electronic form you want. And I just need to make sure you don't sell it to anybody else kind of thing. Right. Mm-hmm. And I have a number of Lambrettas, and Lambrettas are funny bikes because people are like, oh, a Lambretta and a Vespa, they're the same thing. Oh, they are fucking not the same thing.
Not at all.
Oscar, how would you describe the difference between a 1964 Vespa? I have a Vespa Super Sport over there. I should have brought it in front of the camera. But anyway, so we got a Vespa Super Sport over there, 64, 65, 66. And then a 1964 Lambretta, right, up on the screen. They're both two-strokes.
Yeah.
They're both 4-speed manual transmissions. They're both kick-start. They both have 10-inch wheels.
Yep.
Okay. I've set the basics. Uh-huh. How would you describe the difference between those two bikes?
Fucking night and day. I mean, one is the straight shaft from the Vespa, and then you have a chain on the other one.
Right.
The motor is totally different.
Yeah. And what Oscar's saying is that the Vespa motor is truly direct drive.
Right.
So you go from the crank through the clutch into the gear stack, and that power coming out of the gear shaft, the lay shaft, is actually your drive shaft. So it's not a drive shaft in the way that the drive shaft is coming from the front of the bike to the back of the bike. It's literally, if a shaft is coming out of your transmission, instead of putting a sprocket on it with a chain to the back wheel, nope, you're literally going to the wheel.
That is
And the wheel is also the brake drum. So it's designed to be this incredibly efficient use of parts. So the Lambretta, on the other hand, has a motor in the front. It has a couple of chains, duplex chains, that run from the front of the motor to the back of the motor in a case. Primary, and that goes into a transmission. And the transmission is at the back of the motorcycle, like a Corvette. Right. And when you shift, you're shifting a gear changer at the back of the motor. Mm-hmm. So that's the way the Lambretta works. And so the motor in a Lambretta is in line with the frame. A motor on a Vespa is hanging off to the right-hand side, and we're talking about old Vespas only, not new ones.
That's always the big debate between the Vespa guys and the Lambretta guys. Like, oh man, your fucking motor is going sideways. And it's like, no, the other one's like streamlined. It's in the, and it's true.
Oh, it's a battle.
And if you see the bikes from behind, you can see that one's streamlined and thinner.
Right. Like and the Vespa, people like to say, the guy's name was Enrico Piaggio, I think, or I'm not sure which of the guys it was. But he said, the Vespa, it has the curves like the woman. Right? And you see it.
You're like, one, but it's... you're
like, the curves like a wasp?
It does. Yes. And so the Vespa has a wasp-like back end, hence the term wasp. The Lambretta is slim. It's a slim style. That's what they called it that.
That's a good-looking bike.
It is a good-looking bike, but the Vespa has a single-sided front swing arm and a single-sided rear swing arm, where the Lambretta has dual forks in a traditional format in the front. So to change a front tire on a Lambretta, most Lambrettas don't even carry a spare tire because the idea of changing one on the side of the road is rather prohibitive. Where a Vespa, changing the tire on a Vespa is literally 4 or 5 lug nuts, just like your car.
Yep.
And so the Vespa wheel,
because it was based off the landing gear.
exactly, it's an aircraft landing gear, right. So that's leftover parts from an aviation.
Oh shit! I never
background.
thought. Now I can see that totally.
Totally an airplane landing gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where that came from. Piaggio built airplanes long before they built scooters.
But now for racing, a Lambretta has to be better because you can turn both ways.
Yes,
Lean
so there is a Lambretta will be
A Vespa without its spare tire and without a battery on the left side does want to lean to the right.
Hard. Yeah, hard. Until the motor's going. The motor acts like a gyroscope. So when the motor's running, the bike can self-balance. In fact, there's a promotional movie from ages ago where they had a Lambretta running on a flywheel, running on a rolling road, a dynamometer basically. So they had a roller and the Vespa was on the roller and they had the RPMs on the Vespa and the Vespa just held itself upright because the motor running creates gyroscopic motion. And so the motor does self-balance. That's the idea behind a Vespa, is the gyroscopic motion of the flywheel being in fact self-balances. The right-hand turning on a Vespa can be challenging though because the selector box is down and low, whereas the selector box in the Lambretta is more in line with the transmission on the top of it.
Yeah, anybody that's owned a Vespa and left a bar late at night to hang a right-hand turn, you might not make it home.
Hey, I'm going to cut this baby. Yeah, exactly. So there you go. John Del Vecchio can't save you from that one. Yeah.
The other defining feature between both of them is that the front fender on the Vespa does move with the tire.
Turn, yes.
And on the Lambretta, it doesn't.
Right. It's static.
At least the older ones.
Right. This one. Yeah.
Also, a Lambretta has a tube frame.
It does.
Running underneath your floorboards.
Right, exactly.
You can take the
if
whole
your
thing
floorboard's
apart.
rust out on a Vespa.
Right.
Oh,
You're done.
yeah, that's the whole thing. Yep.
And so
frame.
the tubular chassis, this giant piece of 3-inch plumbing pipe that goes from the back of a Lambretta to the front of the Lambretta has everything bolted to it. So you can strip everything off of a Lambretta frame and literally just be riding a tube down the street.
Pretty much.
That's what my chopper is. And there's no body work on my chopper.
That chopper really needs to see more light of day.
I think we'll put some time into it. We got a few winter projects. That should be one of them.
So close.
We stopped doing it because those kids choppers came out, those Chinese weed whacker motor powered choppers came out. And it was like, every time I would ride that chopper, people would be like, oh, it's one of those Chinese things. Cause it just looks like that. It doesn't look like a Lambretta to people who don't know.
That was my foray into having a motorcycle company. When I had Rider for Life, the clothing company, we got offered. We were picking those things up for $180 a pop, going to Mid-Ohio.
Yeah. Selling for $500, $600.
Oh, dude, $800. These dudes would come, and they were the ugliest motherfuckers with the 2 rear wheels.
Oh, they're
in the
terrible.
back. Terrible.
Yeah.
With literally a chainsaw motor. That was not.
Oh, I remember you guys had that whole setup back there.
Oh, yeah.
And they were breaking before people would get them back to their booth.
Yeah.
And so many people were pissed off. And I was like, just go up there. They'll give you another one.
Yeah, we did, sort of.
Yeah, so it was pretty funny.
But then the greatest thing, my biggest accomplishment, which I'm sure you've had happen 1,000 times.
Yeah.
So some other guy comes up.
Yeah.
And he's like, he likes his.
Yeah.
So now he's like, hey, if I buy 10 of those, can you give me a deal? And I'm like, yes, I can.
I see a mid-level marketing program in your future. It's called an inverted V. It's not a pyramid.
No.
More of a funnel into my pocket.
Right, exactly. It's more of an inverted pyramid funnel scheme. Right. Exactly. So I bought this today. And so now you've all had a chance to see it. It's got 18,000 miles on it.
That's a kickover?
What's that?
That's a kickover?
I didn't even try.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the carburetor's in a bag. You know,
okay.
Right.
Okay.
So, and the last thing I want to do is kick over a bike that's been sitting for 10 years. Right.
Oh, okay. So that's the story.
It's been sitting. The seller said that it has been sitting since 1978, which jibes because the license plate on the back of it is a 78
Yeah, that's
plate.
true. Yeah.
So the plate on the back is a 78. That makes perfect sense. So again, I'm buying a non-running bike that has a clean Ohio title.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
That's a rarity.
Yeah.
What you pay for it?
But it is 150 cc's.
Yeah.
Now, you all know me. Our podcast listeners also probably know me at this point. They've probably spent 1,000 hours listening to my voice. Now, what did I pay
Oh, my God. It's going to piss me off.
for that bike?
You didn't say 150 cc's for no reason.
Go ahead, guys.
Oh, no.
Lay it on me. Everybody's going to get one guess.
Well, it's not $1 a cc. I know that. There's no way.
I'm going to say, It's going to piss me off if it's true, but 250.
Okay, Oscar, 250.
No, you
Steve.
said 150. Well, you brought up the CCs for a reason. I think for that vintage and that desirable of a bike, you'd be willing to pay $10 a CC.
Okay.
So I'm going to say 1,500.
Okay. Dan?
500.
500. Go ahead.
I'm going to abstain from this one.
You might know.
Yes,
Yeah, you know.
Yes.
Go ahead, John.
501.
Okay. $1,500. So I paid.
All right.
I
I'm
paid
happy about it.
$10 a CC.
Well,
right?
you know why? Because I didn't know the price, but when I got here, James was like, Phil's been wanting one of these. And then he explained that it's like the ultimate because it has the motor of this bike, but then all the other stuff from the other one.
Okay.
It's a weird combination between like it's an SX200, it's a TV200, but it's an LI, so it has SX components, it has TV components.
That's what he was saying.
And it's kind of a weird mishmash. And so I have
That doesn't have a disc brake in
no,
the front of it.
No, I have a Series 1, and I have a Series 2. This is a Series 3, right? And I hate the bikes that come before that, what are called the LDs. And those are actual shaft drives, but they're just very slow. I've had a couple of them over the years. I don't care for them. I don't like the way they look. But anyway, I paid way too much money for this bike. But that being said, I paid way too much money for this bike. The seller was inundated with calls, all willing to kick my dick in the dirt and throw me in the weeds, even though I was in the middle of selling a Vespa to a wonderful group of guys that came out from Michigan who have accidentally become podcast listeners because they were like, Cleveland Moto, they got to be, these guys got to be shady. And then they were like, oh shit, podcast, and started listening to it. And the guy's got monkey bikes. He's super cool, right?
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Guy's super cool. Like, this is one of those situations where
He's like, oh, they are shady.
we end up selling somebody a bike, but then end up making a friend out of them by accident.
Maybe not shady, more like sketchy.
Sketchy, right? And so they got here today.
I'm not worried about not getting a good bike, but I think I might leave with my ass virginity.
Right. And not intact. Yeah. And so this was one of those situations where somebody's like, well, we went to this shop that's close to our house and they don't have Vespas, it would be a 9-week wait or whatever it is. And it's terrible. I know that. But we figured we'd call around and people know you. And I'm like, yeah, well, whatever. And so then they came in to buy the bike. But then they came out to buy the bike and they just fucking stayed into the game for like a really long time. And like you waited, like you said, yeah.
Right.
How long did you wait for your AK?
A couple months.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
He just said 9 weeks ain't bad.
No, I got dudes like if you want a Verde Relax Vespa Primavera 150, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, super short. Like that's your luckiest guy in the world if you only wait 12 weeks for that bike.
Really?
For a Verde Relax, a green, vintage green. If you want a Verde Relax Seafoam Green Vespa 150, you are going to be waiting at least 3 months. Okay. I ordered a shit ton of them, like an impossibly reckless number of them. And those orders are starting to come in now. But if you put your deposit down in May, I got a guy that we just delivered his bike to today and his deposit came in like May, June. Right. But now they're going to catch up. So now they're all going to come in at the same time. But what's funny is if you take that story about waiting 3-4 months on a Verde Relax Vespa Primavera 150, and you take that bike and then overinflate it and turn it into a GTS 300. Same color seat, but now it's a 300. How many you want? I got 3 of them in the building with us right now.
Really?
So the 150 is completely like it is, you can't build enough of them. It is the number 1 color selling Vespa they've had in the past 2 years. But the 300,
same color.
Nobody will touch it.
What's the price difference between the two?
The same as it's $5,500 for the Primavera and $7,100 for the 300. You know what the difference is? 300s are usually bought by men.
No.
150s, anybody, right? But I've found one man, I've sold one Verde Relax 300 to a dude. He came in and he straight up was like, oh, that color's 1957. That is like T-Bird Seafoam Green. That thing is amazingly retro. I got a Woody wagon down in Florida that is the same color as that bike.
Oh, nice.
Except wood on the sides. I'm buying it. And that's how he bought it. He's like, that is the most 1950s retro color in the world. I'm buying that. Everyone else, because, I ordered the same number of 300s as I did 150. Why wouldn't I?
Right.
Big fucking mistake there, right? That's why I'm glad they never made a pink 350 or a pink 300 or a pink 250. They made the pink as a 50 and a 150 because their marketing department was in touch with America and not wanting to be too gay. That's that line from Tropic Thunder, never go full retard. Yeah. Well, that's it. And that pink GTS 250 would have been too gay.
Yeah.
Well, the Verde Relax Vintage Green 300, just a little too femmy for the average guy who's already taking chances by riding a Vespa. So a lot of guys ride a Vespa. They're just like, yeah, Vespa, undercompensating motherfucker, right? I show up. I am the most interesting guy in the room. The fact that you guys have 19 Harley Davidsons parked in the parking lot and I just showed up on a Vespa and every person in here just came outside to tell me how much they hate Harley Davidsons. Mm-hmm. And they all want to take a ride on my Vespa, right? Yeah, bring it on, man. But that Verde Relax Vespa at the 300, just not sellable, right? It's just...
You just need to get a couple of guys to lose weight and they'll get that extra inch and then they get the confidence and they come in and they come in and get it.
Yeah. Vespa, so when they did the coral colored one, which is like pink and orange had a baby.
Oh, yeah.
When they did the coral colored Vespa, I don't think they did it as a 300. Yeah. They just did it as a 150.
Right.
But to me, being a tropical beverage enthusiast, I was like, the coral one, I was like, oh, bring it on, man. I'm going to tiki the shit out of that bike. Like that bike is a tiki nightmare just sitting there. I love it. Fucking love everything about it. So I paid $1,500 for a bike that doesn't run. 64. 1964 does not run. Will probably need a whole new top end. Yeah. Definitely is going to need an electronic ignition. Definitely is going to need a carburetor. Yep. And I paid more money for that than I've paid for Pacific Coast 800s. Yep. I paid more money for that than I've paid for Super Hawks. I've paid more money for that than I've paid for Honda Bentley 160s.
Well, but it has all the panels, right? I mean, the only thing is that
it's missing the glove box.
The glove box.
Yeah, the glove box door is the only thing that's missing.
James said he's not going to let you paint it.
No, and I don't think I'm going to.
Yeah.
No,
just clean it up and patina.
That joke is like, you say patina again, motherfucker, right? Patina is, I'm so happy that patina became a cool thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because for a while it was just, if it holds still, paint it flat black, And like that was the cafe racer culture. Yeah. Was like, whatever it is, paint it flat black. And I know that because I own a flat black Vespa.
Sure.
Because we couldn't sell them. Because the idea of like flat blacking a Vespa was the same thing. It was like putting the spikes and all of the masculinity in the world into a Vespa.
Right.
Right. And Vespa's flat black, you can't see all the curves and stuff like that. So that's why I have a flat black Vespa, because I couldn't sell it.
Right.
So I had to make it special and keep it for myself. But that right there is the most money I've spent for a 150 in my goddamn life ever. And pretty funny. But yeah, we are going to keep it just the way it is, because it'll only be original once.
Let me ask you this. So 20 years ago, that same bike, what would you have paid for it?
$400.
Yeah.
If it was running.
And that's why I went to 250, because I know he usually picks up like rarities like that really cheap.
20 years ago, for me as a buyer, that would have been a bike I would have sold because it's not running.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I would have sold it for $900. I would have bought it for $400.
Wow.
See?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's an idea of how the market has changed so much. Yeah. And right now it's a feeding frenzy. So I'm going to wait for John to come back because I have a report from last week's auction.
Oh, wow.
And if you guys might remember last week, we talked about,
I'm excited about
we
this.
talked about some auction things that were happening and some cool stuff. And I just wanted to kind of bring everyone up to speed on how that all panned out. So because there's, again, I love shit that we can do on 1 week of the podcast and then come back for it the next week and be like, there was a result.
Wasn't there one bike that the Hoffer?
No, John wanted that.
Oh, John
950 or whatever.
So John wanted. Shit. John's been kind of talking. He's been kind of like coming up sideways on like he thinks that if he sneaks up on a Yamaha SCR 950 from the right direction, it won't notice he's trying to get in its pants. Right? And I really believe that he thinks that. Like John's just like it's just going to be the right time, the right day. And I'm just going to give her one cocktail enough. Like she's going to have too many drinks and I'll end up being able to go home with an SCR 950, which is, look, it's not a bad bike.
Oh.
Now, I did do some research into it. It is a Yamaha Bolt 950. It's what it is. So it's a Yamaha Bolt 950 with some side panels that look like they're scrambler-fied, with a rear fender that looks like it's scrambler-fied. The tires aren't particularly knobby, but it has the Yamaha TT paint job. It has motocross style handlebars. It has fork gaiters, which of course, you have to have fork gaiters if you're going to say the word scrambler.
It's a good looking bike.
It's a good looking bike. It's a great looking bike. Yep. And so last week in the podcast, we talked about, what their average value is, what they're worth, and everything else. So I wanted to participate in the auction. Yeah. Oh, this is relevant.
Get interesting.
This is relevant to my interests. So the bike in question is a 2017. I looked it up and they had it listed as a 2018, but the VIN on the bike actually does make it a 17. Okay. So the VIN on the bike makes it a 17. I don't know why they had it listed as an 18, but the VIN confirms manufactured it's a very, very late 17, very, very early 18. So here it is. There's the bike and
actual photos.
No, we brought up the photos from the auction last week, but now that the auction is over, the first tip is that I didn't win the auction. So that's the first thing that everybody needs to know is we are not talking about the bike that is on its way up here from the auction, right? We're talking about the bike that I did not win. So last week when we talked about this, we said that the wholesale value, the price that these had sold at auction, there were 11 of them that had sold. This one had a 90 score, so it's a very good score. Yeah. And the average score for the ones that had sold out are about an 84. 84. So again, their 11 bikes and 12 bikes that they have history on to draw from is a pretty good indication over the past 18 months of where the market is or where it was 18 months ago, up to 18 months ago for this bike. And we had determined that 4750 or so was the average wholesale price that these were selling at auction to dealers, not MSRP, not on the street, not at a dealership, but the cost to dealers. And then you can usually add 15 to 20% on top of that for being what it would sell for at a dealership. Okay. So got it. So we know
2021,
right.
The market's hot.
Right.
High rating.
Yep. High score.
And didn't you say the auctions were not happening for a while?
Yes. So the auctions, they did take a bit of a timeout, but they've come back for the past year. They've been back.
But there's a lot of dealerships right now that are having no bikes in their dealership.
True.
That's important.
But I was seeing these on Marketplace for $4,500 to $5,000 all day long. With
So
very low mamas.
Yep.
Good looking.
That's what interested me. I'm like, it's a lot of bike for what you're.
Absolutely. Tons of bike for what you're paying.
That's good to know.
I totally agree. Yep. So all of these things you've brought up are all very, very tangible, very verifiable things you should take into consideration when you're thinking, okay, I'm either going to be buying a bike at auction or I'm going to be buying a bike I'm later going to try to sell.
Did you actually bid on it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you bid on it.
Oh, yeah. There's like 6 bikes I bid on. Yeah. So, but I'm not the owner of it. Okay. Somebody else bought it.
Are we going to get the dirty details?
You are going to get the dirty details. Okay. But anybody like to guess? A bike that had previously, we disclosed last week that the average sell price for this bike is $47.40.
I only care. I want to figure out what you bid.
Yeah.
And I know you're not going to bid 47 because that's what they're going. You want to get a deal. You're not going to bid full market, what they're going. You're going to try to.
So I got out of the way at 4,500.
Okay. Yeah, that was good. You shouldn't go more than 4,500.
Because remember that on top of these bids, there's a buyer's fee.
Yeah.
Right.
So on top of these bids, you're going to have a between 5 and 10% buyer's fee.
Oh, shit.
On top of that.
Yeah.
And you can go on Marketplace and buy one right now for $45,000 to $5,000.
Exactly. Plus, you got to get it up here, right?
Yeah.
So you got to get it up here. Now, remember, the only people in the room, physically on the property and online, are dealers, not just I happen to have a dealer's license, but I am a registered member of this auction, and I've got several $100,000 on a credit line with them so that I can't say I'm buying things that I can't afford to pay for.
Right.
So this keeps out Billy Joe Jim Bob, who just happens to have a dealer's license for trailers or whatever,
right,
from participating in this auction and just being like, look, Ma, I just bought 12 motorcycles. And then they got to chase you down and figure out how you're going to pay for them. So to participate in these auctions, you got to have a motorcycle dealer license number. You got to be registered with this company, and you have to have a line of credit established of a certain dollar amount, or they're not going to let you buy.
Now with that credit,
Yeah.
you're going to pay for it. So there's no interest or anything, right?
So I get 30 days for free.
Okay.
Yeah, 30 days for free. I've got to pay for it within 30 days. On the 31st day, you don't want to fucking know what happens to the interest.
Oh, I'm sure it's great.
So yeah, this line of credit that I've got is one of those things you're like, this is not one we let it ride. Right. Like we're not going to be like, oh sure, it's 5% or whatever, just let it go. Right. It's cheaper than a credit card. No, man, we're talking 14.9, 15.9, 17.9.
Right. This is not credit. This is just your key to buy shit.
And that's what I like to say. Don't think of it as credit. Don't think of it as a floor plan. Think of it as a permission slip to make a purchase
that you're going to pay for.
That whether or not you will pay for it in a month, you've already paid for it today.
Right.
Right. So your credit is secured. Your line of credit is there. Right. So they know they're not going to lose a penny. And the longer it takes you to pay for it, the better it is for them. Right. It's cool. And plus, they'll keep it down there for a little while for you while you arrange shipping to get it up and out of there. But then there's also late fees if you don't get it in a certain period of time. Yep.
$6,000.
Yeah. $59.80.
$550. Okay.
So $59.80, $2,200 higher than what all of the rest of them that are newer, by the way, sold for. So the market right now on a bike that was 47, add 2,200 to that. Well, that's 40%.
And a dealer thinks they can sell it for more.
And exactly the thing.
But think about this. Rick Roush, I had it for work. I had to go to Columbus last week.
Right.
So on the way home, my daughter, I brought her back from OSU and we wanted to stop and get a snack. And I was like, well, I'm going to go to Rick Roush. It's right here.
It's right there. Yeah.
They had 3 motorcycles.
They had snacks at Rick Roush?
No, she went there and I went because I didn't want to have a snack.
That's great.
They had 3 motorcycles in the showroom, like 3 in the entire fucking showroom, man. So
a few months ago when we were out on the ride and we stopped at the one dealership, it was like
nothing.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It's absolutely true. And so
was it my wife or was it you that was saying about the Chevy dealers leasing?
Yeah, they're leasing and renting cars to have in the showroom so that customers can go in and have a buying experience. Wow. Not just, that's not hyperbole. That's not a news story. I went into the dealership.
Yeah, what do you mean? They're leasing what?
So you go down to North Olmsted, you go to the dealer, Chevy dealer, you go onto the lot. There's like 6 cars on the entire fucking lot. There's no cars. It's crazy how few cars there are. The Mazda lot had 4 Mazdas on the entire fucking lot.
Wow.
A lot that normally holds 500 cars. But inside the showroom where the salesmen are working, I was like, there's a pretty respectable number of cars on the floor. So they can give you the whole try this on experience. But the cars that were in there on the floor were enterprise cars.
Yep.
Oh, shit. Okay.
They were rented cars.
Yeah.
So they had something for you to buy, something for you to get in and get your deposit and pay your money on.
Wow.
Yep. Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So here's what's kooky. So like I said, that car was, that bike, right? So that bike was 47, right? So I looked just for fun because like you said, I've seen those for 4,500. Not recently, you haven't. Okay. So State 8 has one for 6788 with 3,200 miles. That a lot for a motorcycle that was in the neighborhood of 6899 new, or in that range. So 6488 for a 4-year-old bike with 2,986 miles. When we know that the wholesale on that thing was 4,700, right? So that's quite a fucking gap. And then so 6488. And I hate to throw this up because I don't ever want to be like, look, we're shilling for Cycle Trader, because I don't like shilling for Cycle Trader. I think Cycle Trader's got Cycle Trader's fucked up. As a dealer and as a person who buys motorcycles for a living, Cycle Trader is fucked up. We'll get into a long conversation about that sometime about how.
So that's not an excess. That's a.
There you go. It's right there.
I can't read that far.
So it's an SCR 950.
It's the SCR, not an excess.
SCR 950. And so as you can see, so that one right there is at Seminal Powersports, right? It's got 2,986 miles and 6488. And then you go to the next one, our buddies over at State 8. They got one with 3,200 miles, same year, same color, 6788. Okay. Here's one with almost 11,000 miles on it, 5690, right? And this one, I looked at real close on this one, the SCR 90. This thing's fucked up. This thing's been laid down. It's got some shitty aftermarket can fucking jammed onto it. This is a fucked up motorcycle. This bike is like a $3,400 bike, and yet they're asking $5,690 for it. And then here we go, $5,599. So this is all these prices are on bikes, and then $72.99, $72 fucking 99.
One in Pittsburgh for $5,000.
Right.
2,600 miles on it though.
Right. So what I would tell you though is you should buy that bike, because despite what I saw happen at the auction,
There's one for 72.
and here's one right here for $74.95.
65.
Right.
Well, same thing happened with the Z900.
59.
Right.
I got mine for $7,000.
Yep.
The used ones with 6,000 miles are back up to $9,500 now. People,
Wow.
it's
Wow.
fucking crazy.
I got the fucking Hofford over here.
That's pretty good.
It's the seat, then.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a really, really funny thing, and it's not a funny thing, but even at auctions, even at a wholesale buying environment, and like we said, pickings have been slim. Normally this auction has got well over 3,000 motorcycles. Okay. Well over 3,000.
Here's
at this
one
auction.
for 57 with $7,000 out in
Right.
Kirtland.
Yeah. So, I mean, like the point being, these dealers, people that know better, are paying more money. Now, granted, that bike had 30 miles on it.
30 miles.
Right.
That's the
So they're paying more money at the auction house where there's going to be a 5% buyer's fee, where there's going to be all these things added on to the purchase of the bike. Then you see them for out in the world. That's how hurt for dealers. That's how hurt for inventory dealers are right now.
But there is a certain type of person who isn't going to go with Craigslist or
Right.
doesn't want to deal with that. They want to buy it from a dealer. So
So I did a little research, and I almost kind of think that this is the bike. So see this bike up here?
did they use the pictures from the auction?
They didn't, but I've seen companies do that. And I think this might be the bike from the auction, kind of. 82 miles is not that far off from 30 miles. Somebody took it for a ride, etc. Sure. Check it out. But $79.99, that's a nice round number for being $2,000 more than what they paid for it, right? So that's a $2,000 profit margin on the bike. And it's the same color and everything else on the bike too. So I was like, maybe that might be the bike. So, but that point being, that's consistent with a dealership trying to make a quick $2,000. You know, get it at auction, make a quick $2,000 on it. So same color, same everything else, just a little bit coincidental. But yeah, it's a very funny thing that motorcycle that we were like, yeah, man, those are a great bike. They're a great deal. Well, they are, except for when you got to pay $69.95 to get one, you know, and that's just where the market is right now.
It is a $950 though.
High. It's a $950. It's a great bike for somebody who wants
You're
that.
going to pay at least $500 or $600 for a 500.
I believe, yes, absolutely. I do believe that the seat on this motorcycle is a war crime. So there's very few motorcycles I've ridden in my life where the seat was as fucking awful as this is. It's a shitty seat. Like, it's just straight up like the seat on this motorcycle is an afterthought. It's just crap. And the difference between the Bolt and the SCR is the Bolt has the sway back frame that you would expect to be on a cruiser bike. And on this bike, they just made it go straight across. And when they made this frame go straight across, that left them no room for a seat. And so what you end up with is a seat that is, and it's got the pegs are in the right spot, you know, and all that stuff. But you do end up with a seat that is like the V9 that we had, the Moto Guzzi V9. The seat on that thing was also, because they wanted it to be a roadster, they want the frame straight across the rails. You end up with a seat that's 1.5 inches thick. Yeah. And there's not much you can do with 1.5 inches to make her happy. Right? Yeah, that's it.
So question. So again, I do scooters and I do cruisers.
Yeah.
I see a seat like that,
Yeah.
like what's behind you. And I look at that and I immediately go, this is uncomfortable shit.
Yeah,
Like,
it
I don't
is.
even want to put my ass on it.
It is.
Oh,
You're right.
okay.
No, you're absolutely right.
Well,
all
it
right.
depends though.
Right.
You got to look at them. Like my GS 850 has a flat seat like that, but it's
Right.
the most comfortable seat in the history.
But it's a
of seats.
bread loaf. There's
Right.
2 inches, 3 inches of foam.
Right.
Yeah.
A 3-inch seat that's 3 inches of foam is not bad if it's good foam.
Right.
A 3-inch seat that's 2 inches of plastic and 1 inch of foam
not
is a
good.
problem.
Yeah.
And that's where it comes into it.
Yeah,
you
so
know what?
you take the cover off, you throw a gel pack in there and stuff. You can make it nice.
But here's the thing.
Absolutely.
I want to know. So like motorcycles have all these advancements, all these new styles and shapes and everything. But it seems like the 70s and 80s, the seats were actually like nobody, like I never thought about replacing a seat from one of those bikes. It's like, oh, this is pretty good.
Right.
Now, when you buy a bike, you're like, well, I got to get a new seat, obviously. Like, it's the first thing you do. Can't they fucking make a seat that doesn't suck?
Okay, so they can.
Right?
They don't need to.
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, there's some weird psychology in there. So the weird psychology is when you're in the showroom, and this happens here every day, people go up and they sit on the bike. Now, do you know the two things the customer does when they come into my showroom and sit on a bike? No. There's two things I guarantee every single customer does. They are both childish and foolish when you think about it.
They sniff the seat?
No.
Oh, okay. Just happened.
The first thing that they do is they get on the motorcycle and they bounce up and down on the seat. They bounce up and down on the seat and they will immediately tell you their instant review of a seat that they've sat on for exactly 3 seconds.
Right, because that's what you need to know.
I'm going to tell you that no seat in the history of motorcycles has ever been designed for how it feels for 3 seconds. Other than somebody who's aware of consumer psychology that says, if I take motorcycle A and I give it a firm seat and I use closed cell foam, like your space mattresses or whatever the hell it is, and I use an expensive foam in that seat that is going to be firm and is going to feel good under your ass for 3 hours. And then I have the exact same motorcycle next to it with a seat made out of open cell foam, like a shitty office chair. Okay. And so then you sit on it and you go, right? And in 3 minutes, you are literally sitting on the plastic or the metal frame of the motorcycle. But for that 7 seconds, it's like sitting on a marshmallow.
Yeah.
Right? If I have those two motorcycles sitting both there, right side by each, and if I tell people, this is the Raging Chicken 250, and this is the Raging Chicken 250 LX, they will always go for the bike with the softer seat. And then, ironically, because I've been doing this a while, they will all say, I've had this bike for a week and a half, and everything about this bike is just 5 stars. I absolutely love it. But the seat's not so great. Does Corbin make a seat for this?
Yeah. I was just going to say that's the Corbin problem, though, right? Because you get a Corbin seat, and you're like, I spent all this money. You put your ass on it, you're like, this thing sucks.
And it sucks until you're on it for 4 hours.
Right.
And then at 4 hours, you're like, now I understand.
Right.
So soft does never equal good for long duration. But here's the trick. Motorcycle companies know that. So motorcycle companies know that 95% of motorcycle owners will change their seat anyway. So don't give them an expensive one.
Right.
So give them a shitty seat from the factory that feels really nice when you sit on it for 5 seconds. Okay? The second thing that motorcycle customers will do that is childish and foolish is they will get on the motorcycle and in my showroom,
make room noises?
While it's on the center stand, they will adjust their mirrors.
Oh, my God.
Well, you do want to see what's behind you.
Fuck you. Okay? Here's why. 1, if you see what's behind you, you've adjusted your motorcycle mirrors incorrectly.
Right.
Okay. Unless the motorcycle mirrors are literally inboard of your hands, and don't laugh, Harley's made a few that way.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Right? You're going to see. Right? So like whether you have a 6-inch, Ben, if you have a 6-inch stem, right?
Or a 10-inch.
Or if you have a 10-inch stem, you're going to see.
Right.
But I think it's hilarious when I'm trying to extol the virtues of a motorcycle to somebody and they get on the thing and they are not paying attention at all. Meanwhile, they are lining up an MIT grade mirror alignment so they can signal Saturn and Uranus on this bike. Oh, no, that's just not right. That's just not right. And
I always have a problem with that, though. I mean, like mirrors are right here and they go right to my shoulders.
Yeah.
And I always have to go like this.
Hey, John.
I don't know how to fix that.
Would you ever not buy a motorcycle?
Well, that's really not anything I can do about
because,
it. So I guess I'd just be stuck with it.
Or do you think that maybe there might be in the aftermarket some mirror extenders?
Yeah.
Right. Or a mirror bracket mover thinger or something?
It's not the first thing I look at.
But the point
wouldn't be
being,
a
it's
deal
like,
breaker. Yeah.
I think it's hilarious that people are sitting in here and they're like, they'll move the mirrors and then they'll make this face, this gas face. So they'll be like, mirror, mirror, mirror. And they'll get off the bike and go sit on another bike that I know is a shittier bike or whatever.
Just want mirrors that adjust nicely.
And they're like, they sit on the bike and they'll do the mirror thing again. They'll do the bounce on the seat and then they'll do the mirror thing again. And they'll go, oh, okay, great. Thumbs up.
My wife is like, as soon as she gets in the car, all mirrors must be adjusted.
Yeah.
People really care.
No, and good, they should. But I also am the guy that does get to pass judgment on every bike that comes in here. And when your bike comes into my shop and I see that you've got both of the side view mirrors aiming 6 feet behind your vehicle so that you don't have any vision into your blind spots at all, then I just go, well, the fucking 20 minutes you spent in my showroom dicking with these mirrors means nothing because, well, it turns out people don't understand, Johnny eats too much, no offense, shows up in my shop and
he's fucking huffed again.
You're a punching bag tonight, man. Fucking A.
He's two Oscars wide. Right. But he shows up and he's 2 Oscars wide.
Somebody give the kid a hug, man.
I still love
You coming?
I do.
I was going to say Chris eats too much, but then I looked at Chris and I was like, Chris does not eat too much.
No.
So,
I do.
but you have the metabolism to burn it off.
Exactly.
Stress.
Exactly.
So, but it is a thing when a human being comes in and a human being is 3 feet wide and the handlebars of the motorcycle are 2.5 feet wide and the mirrors are there. Well, then they've essentially set themselves up to fail. So when we sold the Stella and we sold the Bajaj, everybody came in and said, do they make longer mirrors for this? And I went out of my fucking way, spent way too much time on the internet, talked to companies that manufacture mirrors, and I had mirrors made. Yeah, try it. It's expensive.
I'm sure.
And I had mirrors made for the Bajaj that were straight up 6 inches longer. You could fucking joust with these things. They were ridiculous. And when the bike would sit there and idle,
that were like right up here.
Right?
Right. I'd like a rear view mirror.
I don't want ape hangers.
Right.
I want.
Right. I just want a rear view mirror.
Yeah.
Just one rear view mirror. I wear it on my hat, wear it on my helmet, and just goes up there and I could look up and just be like driving my car. And I could look that way. Oscar's got a helmet that does that.
Yeah.
I heard it.
He's got a rear view helmet. Yeah. So it's
I like that idea.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And it looks really fucking super cool when he's on his moped.
Actually, I did just see a friggin' mirror that sits at the top of the fucking windshields. Yeah.
Right.
And it corners around. I'm like, who the hell would want that?
Yeah,
Blind
I
spot
saw
mirror.
that too.
Is that what it is?
It's a blind spot mirror. It's curved and it's adhesive and it sticks right on your touring bike windshield.
And it works. Like, I don't mean to sound stupid, but
look,
like,
if you own a minivan,
yeah,
and like you put your sunglasses up there,
yeah,
right. But if you move the next one back, you hit the button on that thing, it folds down. It's a convex mirror.
Okay.
And it's so you can watch the kids in the back seat in your minivan.
Okay.
So when you're going down the road, you flip this thing down. And it's got a convex mirror. It looks in the back seat. And you can see your kids doing all the horrible things your kids do, right? And so most modern minivans have that little feature in them now. Well, this thing that they have adhesive for motorcycles is a convex mirror, but it is literally, I'm not joking, it is in your fucking line of sight. And one of my customers came in with a BMW with one of these things on it, and I nearly crashed the bike because I'm trying to go around a corner on this big-ass touring bike, and all of a sudden I see headlights coming at me, but they were behind me.
Behind you. Well, again, right? Because I'm seeing this stupid ad for this thing, and I'm like, and again, I keep using stupid because I don't know anything about it. But like,
because I didn't buy it yet.
and again, it looks like it's in my line of sight, and on top of my line of my sight, I'm thinking every fucking piece of light that's out there is going to be in my eyes, and I can't turn
That's what the guy said. So there, I saw a review on it, and the guy's like, "Yeah, it works pretty well, but if the sun's behind you, you can't see anymore because it just blinds you."
No, I'm gonna say it was still daylight. Yeah. It was still daylight. I was making a turn and I saw headlights because the guy behind me had headlights on. Yeah. And he wasn't even behind me in the danger zone. He was behind me like 3 blocks off. But those headlights, my eyes are trained to look for hazards.
Yeah.
Well, here's a 1.5-inch strip of reflective material right in front of my eyes with lights coming at me. Fuck that. That's Star Wars trench run shit. Like, I know. Use the Force, Luke. Let go. Fuck that. It was not cool. And I got off the bike and I was just like, that is dumber than fuck. Like, so that is a bad. I'm going to pull up a picture of it just so our people that might be watching on the podcast can see.
Two other Star Wars nerds, since you brought that up. Did you see the meme that has Death Star and then it has Death Star Pro and it has
it's 3 holes in it?
Yeah.
When I was a kid, Dune came out.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm going to give you a little backstory about Unkie Phil. So when Unkie Phil was a child, Star Wars came out and it changed my fucking goddamn life because it came out in 78, 77, 78. And I was 8 or 9 years old and I was the perfect age for that. There's the mirror.
Yep.
Now you can mount it higher or you can mount it lower. Where it is right there, you mostly just see your own chest, right?
Exactly.
But he had it mounted higher, so it would kind of look over your shoulders. And the end result was terrifying. But plus, it's just convex mirrors are weird anyway. So
I just need a rear view screen.
A rear view screen. Yeah, which is easy enough to do.
Right? I thought about that, right? Little tiny little screen.
Yeah.
See right behind you, straight back.
Yeah, you go to Banggood and get a little fucking LED display or LCD display.
Right.
And then just a little camera on the back, and you could stick it anywhere. And then you got a screen and it's looking directly straight behind you.
Because I got to tell you, one thing I do hate about the AK is the fucking mirrors.
Right.
I hate those mirrors.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I hate them. And the new windshield makes it worse.
So with the AK, though, he's talking about the Kymco AK 550. So the AK has the mirrors in the European fashion that are like insect antenna.
Yeah.
There were 6 guys that were like, mirror on an AK.
Periscope adapter. I can fire without giving up my cover or my concealment.
I can watch my 6.
Exactly. So the Kymco AK 550 has the mirrors on it that we were supposed to get on the Kymco Exciting 500 and the Kymco XC 300 or X-Town 300. So the reason that the previous bikes that we got had these really shitty DOT mirrors on them, and those really shitty DOT mirrors have turn signals wired into them. And these things are China's finest. They are garbage. Like the mirrors on a Kymco X-Town 300 have the turn signals built in because the turn signals have to be certain height and certain width apart to be DOT compliant. The awesome, sexy turn signals that came from the factory, Taiwan or China, are too low and too close together, and they're perfectly aerodynamic and awesome. So instead, they put these mirrors on the X-Town 300 that you can't adjust correctly. It's just hilarious. Like, they're the worst mirrors I've ever seen on a motor scooter.
We talked about the mirrors on the Exciting 250.
Right.
The great thing about those, too, is they're low.
Yes.
So they're below your shoulder line.
That was the Grand Vista.
Yeah, the Grand Vista.
Yeah, the Grand Vista. They were perfect.
They're low. They're here, but they're going
They
past
looked under your hands.
Yeah.
And same with the Zero SRS. The Zero SRS, the mirrors fold out from under the where the levers are, where the handlebars are. So it's the strangest thing. You are literally looking over your hand, but seeing under your hand in the reflection. Best mirrors I've ever had on a motorcycle, by far.
I'll tell you, on my Intruder, what I did was I took the mirrors.
Anal.
I knew it was coming. I was like, it's happening. But somehow I can't call that thing just an 800, right? Like,
no.
got to call it the Intruder.
Right.
Yeah, I took the mirror stands, right? Yep. Flipped them upside down and flipped the bars.
Yep, exactly.
And so that way they were under.
Exactly.
And the only thing
that's the Sportster trick. Yeah.
And it was great, except for you couldn't use 100% of the turn in the garage.
Because it's going to hit. Yeah,
it
lock to lock, it's going to hit. And the same with the Sportster, where they put the mirrors under, on some of the Sportsters, they put the mirrors upside down through the purchase. So the shaft isn't threaded on a Harley Davidson. The shaft is empty. You put the mirror through, and then a lock nut, check nut goes through. So the mirrors can be on the top or on the bottom.
My favorite are bar ends, but most of the bar ends are so cheap.
They're shitty.
They just fall apart.
I got the Napoleons, which I really like. Yeah, they vibrate a lot
too. Yeah, it's not a great.
So here's the bike in question, the AK 550. And so you'll see that the mirrors are mounted to the frame in what I like to call, the old Toyota Japanese crown car, like mounted on the fender where mirrors should be. Yeah. So what these do is they move the mirror way out here, like way, way up here. Well, Americans like the mirror to be hooked to the handlebars. Yeah. Right? And it's just a thing. So here's the good news, though. I think on your bike, on the AK, I think that on the master cylinders, they have mirror receivers.
Holes, yes.
So you can still put, and I have done this for customers on bikes that have had this frame mounted mirror system, is I have had a customer leave my shop with the frame mounted mirror system that the factory put on the bike. And then also with the handlebar mounted mirror system. So the customer had 4 mirrors. Yeah.
It's
Super Johnny safety guy.
It's a scooter, man. Yeah. Just keep adding them. You'll be all mod.
It'll be a mod AK 550, right? Get a fishtail in the back.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
There's enough things changing out that thing already. So
yeah, you have embraced Taiwan.
Oh, well, I did want to mention that because I was looking at it when I was standing outside, and there's a lot of little blue farkling going on there. Well, you've corrected whatever was wrong with the kickstand,
and the dashboard is sitting there throbbing at you.
Yeah.
You notice that too?
So the dashboard is just kind of going. So you've got your dashboard set to alert people to the immobilizer system. When you walk up to the bike at any distance, the display on the dashboard, which on the middle of the AK 550, the circle that you can control with your smartphone or your Bluetooth or whatever, that circle, he's got it set to just be kind of breathing. It's just going from black to white, black to light.
Angry.
It's fucking hilarious, man. Yeah.
Everyone walks up, I'm like, what the fuck's up with your bike? I'm like, it's great.
Dude, if you had to make it cooler,
What's up with it?
You're getting too close.
It just needs a little time to settle down. It's a little worked up right now.
Yeah, my next big thing is I'm actually thinking about switching out that belt for a chain because they make a chain conversion for it.
They do. Yeah. I don't think I've heard anybody complaining about short lifespan of the belt or anything.
It's the cost of the belt.
Right.
Like I looked at a replacement just in case.
Yep.
And I was like, yeah, fuck this.
What is that? 10, 15,000 miles or more?
At 13, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a lot higher than that.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I thought it was a really low one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's higher than that. I know that the belt is bloody expensive.
Yes.
The belt is bloody expensive.
But does that belt have any kind of dampening properties that's gonna like keep your like clutch and stuff in order? Because if you go to a chain, there's no, you don't have that bumper that.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird in that I can't find many people that have gone through this chain conversion.
Yeah.
I've seen pictures of it and I've seen some videos, but no one talks about the damn thing.
Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of my consensus too. Is it's one of those things that may exist only in the fantasy world.
And if you look at most of the Harley guys that go to chains, their bikes are such piles of shit that they can't tell the difference that it's shaking.
Right?
And stuff like that. So I mean, like, it's not. I think there is something to that belt that helps smooth the ride out and gives you the smooth power acceleration and stuff.
Yeah. And it could be. I'm just interested in it. It's the same reason I switched out, the rollers for lighter sliders, right? I was going to do sliders anyways.
Just playing around with it.
Right? And then
So you already did your rollers?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. On a bike too. His bike does have the slipper clutch system built into it. So whereas most scooters would traditionally need to change rollers at about 12,000 miles, on that bike you can go out to 25 or 30,000 miles because they have a longer lifespan roller system like the Piaggio BV350 and some other bikes. So, the thing is like what he's doing is just for fun.
Yeah.
The belt, that part number belt, there's a Harley Davidson that uses that same belt. And the service interval on the Harley Davidson is 35,000 miles.
35. Okay.
35,000. So that's the service interval for that belt using that part number in a Harley Davidson. Right. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to say that holds true for a Kimco, but I can just tell you.
Which Harley has 1,200 cc's, but the same horsepower as your bike. So,
yeah, exactly.
By the way, switching out those rollers, that is roughly about a 40-minute job unless you follow the only fucking video on the internet that talks about it. Because that asshole wanted to sell you the tool and not really help you switch out the goddamn rollers.
No.
Because I'm watching this, I'm like, this ain't too bad. And then I'm getting it apart and I'm like, yeah, this was great. I should have recorded this. No, he did a great job. And then I tried to put it back together and like, this fucker ain't going back together to save its life.
Right. Yeah. This ain't happening.
No.
Right.
No.
So we need his tool. Now, how much is he selling the tool for?
I want to say that I paid with shipping. I want to say it was like $100.
$100, right?
Yeah.
So it's because you got to hold things you have to hold things into a configuration.
Yep.
If you let go of it, they'll all fall.
Yep.
So there's no tensioning on the outside of it because sorry guys, if you want to
You're working on the recoil
podcast.
Starter on your Briggs and Stratton.
Exactly. Right. So it's exactly what it is. And it's one of those things that unless you have a way to hold those things in situ while you're also putting a cover on and seating an external bearing,
right?
Because this has a supported outside bearing. And there's been a number of bikes, including the Vespa GTSs, all the Quasar motors and the BV500s are the same way. They have this supported end of the drive shaft. So the end of the crankshaft that runs out, it's fucking genius because you can put all the torque you want for that son of a bitch. It ain't going nowhere. But it also is like, we were joking that you could have like a rubber band or a piece of paper, something that would disintegrate. Like something that would hold it
just long enough
to smash it together.
You'd normally grease it or something, but you wouldn't want to do that.
You can't grease it, right? So it has to be dry. Exactly. So we were trying to think of all the different ways that we could do something in there that would be frangible enough that it wouldn't affect the operation of the vehicle once you got it pushed back together again.
And it's weird when you say that because it's got the aluminum case that goes over it, and the aluminum case, every opening on it has a filter.
Absolutely.
And you're like, holy shit, how many filters are on this thing?
Right.
And gaskets.
Right. This thing is exposed to the air.
Yep.
There is no pressure in this device. There is no oil-proof seal. There is nothing in there at all. It is basically a decorative cover.
Yep.
If you take it off, the bike will run perfectly well.
Yep.
There won't be a problem.
And I have a video of it running that way.
Yeah, because you want to see the belt work and everything. It's badass.
Well, yeah, that and I was trying to, well, okay. Number one, when you're going to do a project like this, probably should make sure you got all the tools before you start the fucking thing. I was like,
That's overrated.
I'm like, I got a 23 socket. This will be fine. I get all the way down to where I need it. I'm like, oh, fuck, I only have this in a wrench. This is going to suck.
This is going to suck.
So my torques, I can't put it back together, but I can still take the fucker apart.
Right. Yeah.
One night's take it apart. Next night's
order the parts,
Yep.
then wait for it and then deal with it.
Yeah.
The those covers,
right?
these covers on these automatic transmissions, they're just safety covers.
Yeah.
They're to make sure that your pant leg doesn't go into that son of a bitch and rip you in half. And it's a good thing they're there. But in Kimco's world in particular, Kimco has put all this dust mitigation in this thing. And I was just like, the next thing is going to be HEPA filters. So there's going to be HEPA filters on your transmission cover just to keep things from entering.
But what you were just talking about, that always cracked me up during the big chopper fetish thing like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
The dudes with the open primaries with the 3-inch wide fucking chains for the primary drives.
Yeah.
And then they're wearing at the time their Janko jeans with their fucking giant chain thing hanging there.
They'd park the bike and you'd see that the whole drive chain or drive belt
would
just be like, look like fringe because it had sucked in so much of their clothing.
Yeah. It was
It's
fucking crazy.
hilarious. There's no, again, fashion or function.
Right.
Pick one. Yeah. And that's exactly what it is.
Well, you know, knowing that at any moment you could lose a leg, that's what increases the excitement of riding a 48 horsepower motorcycle.
Well, there's no chance of dying at high speed, so what the fuck? We'll just turn up the danger everywhere else.
Everywhere else.
We'll make it hard to steal. Again, or you could, how many handlebars do you need? Apparently one. My whole world has changed since I saw that bike with literally one handlebar with a tiller. That's it. And again, if you show up to ride that bike and you have two arms, you're a fucking idiot because now you have nowhere to put this hand.
Right.
And it's literally...
it might be on the suicide shifter.
Again, not something you need this hand for all the time, right? It's literally... it's so you
teapot?
can ride down the street. I'm a little teapot, short and stout.
It'd be even better if the dude showed up with no arms and he just used his mouth. He's like...
I got a buddy named Tarzan. He's missing an arm, right? He was born with two arms. Most of the time I've known him, he had two arms, but then something bad happened and he's got one arm now. And so he's got a Lambretta.
Did he prank you? Like the first time you saw him, he's like, hey, Phil, and you pull his arm.
No, we were all kind of like, fuck, I hope Tarzan lives.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
So his cost of nearly dying was one arm.
You saw him lose his arm?
No, thank God. No, that would have affected me. But the point is, he rides a Lambretta.
Okay.
No,
Which arm is gone?
No, the Lambretta motor's out, and there's an ET4 motor in it.
Oh.
So he could keep kicking old school.
Yeah.
He's got a beautiful kick-ass Lambretta called the One Arm Bandit.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that goes out to you, Tarzan. So, but
yeah, because there's no, you can't, I mean, what would you'd have to do a thumb throttle and a shifter if you wanted to.
Just don't even apply.
Yeah.
Yeah, just don't even try, dude. Like, no.
Yeah, one arm Joe could do it on a motorcycle, but he could still shift with his foot.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So in the case of, in case of Tarzan's bike, the One Arm Bandit, it literally is an automatic. It's so sneaky. Like, there's so much detail that went into the bike. It's just fucking cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it's a good job. Well done. Totally fabricated out to be the point where you're there, you're standing next to the bike and you're just like, yeah, fuck yeah. Way to go. Way to rock an old 60s Lambretta. And then you're like, wait a second. What the fuck is going on here?
Why is there a starter button?
Yeah. And all that shit's hidden. You don't know it's even there. So it's very convincing so that he gets still.
It's like the stereo guys for the hot rods that have the old school
the old
plate that moves down and then the fucking thing is underneath it.
Very much. Yeah, I totally get that. So last week we talked about our new sponsor, Cleveland Moto.
Right.
Oh, yeah, Cleveland Moto. But this thing's only been out for a few hours.
Yeah.
Do you have any copy from them?
Yeah. Eat a bag of dicks.
Welcome to. No, here, wait. I do have it.
No, actually, did you know that? I'm gonna hold on a second. I'm gonna get up real quick so I can get a training aid. You guys talk amongst yourself.
All right. The copy I received went back to cuddling, or what was it? Cupping season.
Cuffing season.
Cuffing season. So yeah, here at Cleveland Moto, it's cuffing season again, and To help you along with this, Phil has cups.
No, I will tell you, I have ridden twice a scooter with one hand completely occupied. Once was for a birthday, and all of a sudden, like, I bought a cake, and I'm like, oh shit, like, how am I gonna do this? I thought I could balance it across the bars. That didn't work,
No.
right? Yeah. And then it was this time. All of a sudden, I'm going down the highway a little faster than I should have, and all of a sudden, I felt like nothing pushing against my back anymore because I brought. And all of a sudden, I'm like, is everything still there? And I'm reaching back, going. I probably shouldn't be doing this.
Totally not
Fuck
cool.
the bags. Put the hand back.
I'm just going to assume they're there.
Yeah, right?
That's all you can do. So this little bad boy, we had these made a couple of years ago. And if you guys know anything about Cleveland Moto, you will know that we are Camaro as fuck for Moto Guzzi's. Like, our shop, we liked Moto Guzzi's even before we were a dealer. And then we liked Moto Guzzi's so much we quit being a dealer because we did not want to die on the cross of like corporate bullshit that we would have to do to be a Moto Guzzi dealer. And so I want to go on my life living and enjoying my Moto Guzzi motorcycles, but I don't want to have to be like, hate them. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. So we ripped out, we borrowed some artwork.
It happens.
Hey, at the time we were licensed. Okay. But we made these fucking beanies. Right. And so we made these beanies, and we did not decide to go through the usual suspects. We actually went, to a company that does things responsibly and ethically or whatever. And we made these. And so we normally sell these for $25 plus shipping or whatever. And for the podcast people, we did $20, $19.99 delivered anywhere in the lower 48. Right. So $20 delivered anywhere in the lower 48. That was our Cleveland Moto promo for last week because my balls are clean. And my balls are hairless, and they will be for the rest of my goddamn life because of our former sponsor. But they've decided that our listeners deserve a timeout. Take that however you want. You got a bunch of fuzzy guys on motorcycles. But anyway, and again, it's winter.
It's winter, yeah.
It's cuffing season.
Right?
Right. So it's cuffing season, according to Manscaped. Anyway. But what I have determined was one of our podcast listeners, one of our Patreon members, said that he will not buy this.
What?
Unless we tell him that this hat is 100% fuckable.
Oh.
So Jason, go fuck your hat. Because he said if I said his name and I called him out, Jason, go fuck this hat. Because I'm mailing you this hat. Now, whether or not John...
it's entirely fuckkable.
Oh, yeah. Whether or not John...
I could take it in the back.
It would be a scrumptious fuck. I mean, realistically, if you want to go fuck Jason's hat...
Or more importantly...
You should just go fuck Jason's hat.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
More importantly... Think about how much that can hold compared to the sock you're used to using.
Right, exactly.
You get a happy hat.
You get a happy hat instead of a happy sock.
Let's give her the minivan.
2 in the front, 5 in the rear. Yeah, that's the minivan. Not fucking around. So Jason, we fucked your hat. There you go. Yeah. So we're gonna get you a post-fucked hat. So as Cleveland Moto likes
Would
to say,
anybody else like to fuck
go
the hat?
fuck your hat. Right. So yeah, we like that.
Careful,
so,
Johnny
go
might
fuck
clone
your
you.
So instead of a signature, we're all going to fist the hats
Yeah, exactly.
and then we can ship them. There you go.
Yeah. It's a mystery hat. You're not going to know who's fucked it.
Oh,
Exactly. Any port in a storm. So next
Comes with a free UV flashlight.
It does, yeah. So next week for our Cleveland Moto, our sponsors, our fine sponsors. So Cleveland Moto's sponsorship, Cleveland Moto. Fuck Misfits. Do you know that Misfits, every time they say something stupid, which is a lot, but every time they say something stupid, they're like, send all your complaints to Phil at clevelandmoto.com.
Oh, shit.
They do
Love
that
it.
every fucking time. And I get these people that don't know the rules, like that are new to podcasts and are new to our world, and they think that it's like legit.
Oh.
So I'm
Like
just
you're the mega mogul that runs all the podcasts. and you
like
have
at
to
some
say-
point, I do all the criticisms
Right.
and stuff. So I've got a couple put
You
away.
take escalated issues.
I have 2 complaints.
You're HR for the fucking.
So what they don't know is Liza and Emma are probably the most guilty of saying that, direct all your complaints to Phil at clevelandmoto.com. Except I say it better. But anyway, they did that. And so I've had 2 people send me messages. And the thing is, me, I like to throw people under the bus.
Yeah.
Because I always like to cite my sources. And so I'm kind of waiting to see, I really want to read these over the air and be like, so we're going to play that out a little bit.
I'm going to put that on my business card from now on.
This. So, yeah, exactly.
Any complaints?
All complaints go to Phil.
I am. I'm
Send
doing
your
that.
complaints to Phil at ClevelandMoto.com. John, grab the other end of this. Like that. There you go.
Oh, perfect.
So see that? Good job, John. So this is our Cleveland Moto 6 feet long scarf. Lovingly made, artisanally crafted in Germany. Yeah, we spent some real money on these. We spent some real money on this shit. This is a company that makes football scarves, footy scarves. Right, and then the backside says Moto Guzzi upside down.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So, as kind of our shop colors. So these scarves that are really made in Europe by a real football scarf company and are delightfully warm and 6 whole American feet long, right? So those scarves, we're doing those scarves $30. Free shipping anywhere in the lower 48. Look at how majestic you are.
Yep.
Right. And so if anybody wants a Cleveland Moto scarf, $30 plus we're paying the shipping. Shipping's on us.
And here's the thing. It's not, it's not one, it's double thickness.
No, it's double
like
thick.
a legit.
The entire thing
Man,
is.
you can fuck the scarf.
KROMPKE figured out a way to
Go fuck your scarf.
Oh my God. It's the first thing that'll cover my whole dick at one time.
So if you have an elephant, you can warm their trunk. You can also put one on each arm and be the wavy guy in front of the gas station. Yep, you could be the inflatable airman in front of the gas station.
That's awesome.
But so these things are legit. Legit as hell. We really wanted to have soccer scarves. We really wanted Cleveland Moto to have soccer
Use it
scarves.
as a muffler, though. You can put your hands in
Yeah,
it.
you can put your arms in it. It's a proper. It will keep you warm in many different
Oh,
ways.
you could, if you tied off the ends, you could put beers in it and
Yes,
sneak
you could. You
beers
could
in.
sneak beers in.
It could be a beardelier.
A beer to it would even keep them cold.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Oh, I love that. So our beer carrier. They say
now $50.
You said beauty's in the eye of the beer holder.
Yeah, right.
Yep, your beer holder's looking pretty good.
I mean, it's got girth. You could probably put bottles of things in there.
Absolutely,
yeah.
it's not
Easy.
fucking around. This is not a child's. This is not an entry level scarf. This is a full on.
You need class 2 certification.
Class 2 certification for this. Yeah, you may have. You got to have a scarf operator's permit. You need to be a certified forklift
For
driver.
children 21 and up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that scarf is our new promo. $30. We'll ship one off
That's
to you.
a good deal.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're doing the same thing. So how we're listing these things so we can keep track of it better is we're putting them on eBay. We have an eBay store. There's other things on there too. But these items are the only items we have on our eBay store that are absolutely no shipping.
And remind me to take a picture of it tonight.
No
I
ship.
missed last week, but this next video, I'll put a little ad. Like when we're doing this, I'll put an ad up and show
You can do that. Yeah, that'd be great. So this is something we did we wanted to do something that is, and honestly, it ain't about the fucking money. What we're paying in shipping on these things is going to eat up any profit we ever would have made on them. But the idea being, screw having another corporate sponsor, whatever. So, speaking about non-corporate sponsors.
Pornhub?
Oh, I wish.
Me too. I
Totally wish. Are you kidding me? Again, and you guys are all bullshit about OnlyFans, but when the art museum did an OnlyFans account, I was like, what the fuck are we not doing? Why aren't we doing an OnlyFans account?
Well, you know what? And here's the other thing. I was thinking about this, right?
Right.
So YouTube is cool, but some comedians and stuff are putting their podcasts and things up on Pornhub, and they're not stopping them. So I was thinking maybe we should start an account and throw it like a secondary where we add an extra 5 minutes at the end that's only good for Pornhub.
God.
All the pregame and the
And
post.
people will be
the
like,
pregame and the
and
postgame.
why do you have Pornhub on your phone, Oscar? It's for the podcast.
I'm checking
See,
out.
we're
this
doing a
stuff.
favor for all of our listeners. They have a reason.
Moto podcast.
A legitimate reason why they could be on there and tell their wives, I don't even look at porn. It's just
Exactly. Yeah.
So wait, are we gonna get a leather couch? just for for the pregame.
Yes.
I like that.
Cleveland Moto casting.
All right, guys.
For the casting.
For casting for the
Thanks for getting here early. I'm glad you showed up at 6. That's great. You gotta fuck these 40 hats.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. How old are you? How old are you?
Got the ID?
You got to say it into the camera.
Yeah.
You got to say it into the camera.
Look straight down the pipe and tell me. Right. So again,
How do you feel about anal?
and only John can make that sound so good. So good. So you guys remember a couple of podcasts ago where I was saying, okay, I don't want to give a podcast a promo. I don't want to give love. I don't want to pimp anything that we don't actually like. Right.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not that I don't like clean balls. I love clean balls. There's nothing wrong with it.
I still like my thing. I use it.
I'm not saying anything. I don't need to. It's legit. It works.
Yeah.
All right. Cat just won't come back in the room ever again. But so what did we do? We said, hey, this podcast a couple of weeks ago, we were like, this podcast is sponsored by Cornering Confidence from John Del Vecchio.
Yep, we did.
Right.
Yeah.
And we talked about that. And because we do know all of us have read the book. I keep the books here at the shop. I've got my copy that I loan out to people all the time. So John, of course, listens to our podcast.
Oh, good.
Which I don't recommend that he does. I on behalf of, I don't want to take away John Del Vecchio listens to our podcast.
He'll start it.
So John actually does listen to the podcast, and he sends us out this thing, and he's just like, holy shit. He's just like, wow. He's like, thank you.
Yeah.
Right. But on the same token, it's us.
Yeah, don't do it again.
Right. There's no such thing as bad press unless Cleveland Moto is talking about us. Right?
He followed that with a letter.
What does cease and desist really mean?
I don't know.
I don't understand. Right. I have no idea what that means. But again, I do want to clarify because there was some confusion over it. We actually do really, really believe in, and we have all read the book. We have all used the techniques that are in the book. And as a person that has been racing motorcycles for many years, I learned something new. Mm-hmm. And then as we give this book out, or we, loan this book out to people here in the shop, they always come in and they're always like, holy shit, God damn it. And now I've got books like Proficient Motorcycle Sidecar Riding that I've loaned to you, and various books we hand around kind of here at the shop because we do like to be like, if you read this, you'll learn something and it'll be fun for you.
And I look at pictures. But.
Exactly, right. But there's some things that do kind of go around for us that we've had, and they've kind of been like, Graham Bell's book on two-stroke tuning is one of my favorite books ever. And if you sit still long enough, I will hand you one of those books because it makes two-stroke motors and the tuning of them and expansion chambers all make sense all of a sudden. And it's a fun book to read, even though it's old. It's been long in the tooth. But anyway, so John Del Vecchio, here it is. If you want this book, it's $24.99. It's a very inexpensive book. It's not an expensive book. Now, it also said, what I think is hilarious is it also is available on Kindle for $9.99. Now, apparently my appreciation of what a Kindle is and how a Kindle works, my mom had one, but it doesn't seem to me to be the right interface for a book on cornering confidence is on the Kindle, I guess. But, I guess the images and stuff are cool on the Kindle too.
And it has the paper look to it and stuff.
Yeah, for $10 whole bucks on the Kindle. Jesus Christ. Get that. You might learn one thing. If you learned one thing, it's worth the price of stadium beer.
So if you remember when you brought this up, we were also talking about the Fort 9 thing, right?
We were.
So
yes, we were.
I'm going to let John take it from here. But this weekend.
Well, we had an opportunity to go out with Cliff LaRoque.
Cliff LaRoque, you guys.
On the fall foliage
tour.
Yeah. And so that was a lot of fun. We tried to meet up with some guys, but he really wanted to set it up so everybody rode on their own
to get
out to the county line.
The county line bar.
Yeah.
Which is
so we tried
bar.
to meet up, but it ended up I just got stuck with Steve Cinch.
Yeah.
But we had a good time, and we were hooning it up quite a bit through the metro parks and stuff. But at one point, we almost tried to pass the cop.
Yeah, that's almost not good.
Ah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. But
metro parks too.
But here's the good part. I almost fell over laughing because
I would have had to. I tried to go ahead and put the counter steering through a turn the Fortnite
So John
technique.
threw his bike over these.
No, you did not.
So I was going through.
You tried to actually lay the bike down while you yourself stayed
Yeah,
up.
well, you can do it if you're not going too fast.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
It was comfortable for me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because you
I was just
literally-
riding on my
you just-
sidewalls.
You just put the bike on the sidewalls and you stayed upright.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
just lean it over here.
Perfect.
Oh, we're gonna go this way.
Right.
So
That's great.
then we kept both trying it. So I was on my Z900. I'm throwing the thing this way. And I look so stupid. The bike is way over here. and I'm like,
Anybody
"Good."
saw you riding through the metro parks. Now, here's the thing for the
Side saddles.
for people who don't live in Cleveland, our metro parks are the most amazing roads, and they're perfectly laid out. They're twisty as fuck. They go everywhere. There's no hardly a red light, but it's 30 miles per hour.
And they're heavily patrolled.
Oh my God!
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. By zero DSRs.
Yeah.
So they're heavily patrolled by motorcycles you can't hear. I curse myself for ever doing that. Right.
We did take a stroll down Meadow Lane. That one really cool thing, but it was wet, and there were leaves on it, and it was
And
at
like
one
1
point-
inch, little like twigs that were 1 inch and flat.
Yeah. So
it was
Meadow
like-
Lane used to be a road.
At one point,
And they
I was
barred
like-
it off. You
I,
know,
I
they
had
blocked it
slowed
off.
to like 10 mile an hour, and I still went over the yellow line.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to turn on this at all.
There was some really
it's like
inexperienced riders too. I mean,
Oh,
On the
yeah.
ride
Yeah.
up.
Oh, yeah.
So Meadow Lane was off of the parkway. So if you go, there's that one place, not too far in. If you make a right on this one road, it's beautiful, brand new asphalt.
I mean, it's
a little roller coaster ride through the woods. It's fantastic.
if you got
but
to know it, you could be doing knee drags, and not with the conditions that with the stuff on it, but
it needs to be dry and clean.
Right. Yeah.
But it's really cool.
yeah, I used to take my STI on that road.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
worked down in Brecksville, so it was like lunchtime.
Yep.
Drive the meadows.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Yeah, I think a lot of us. When I was a young person, I had a Dodge Omni, and I bought it. Well, I had inherited a Dodge Omni, and so it was this 87, or 86. So it was a 6-year-old Dodge Omni, which from the factory, my mom's car and a blown motor, right?
From the factory.
Come on, man. It was a Dodge Omni. So she had put 100,000 miles on it or whatever,
wow.
and it was the 5-speed. But it had I think it might have been a 2-liter motor in it, the 1.7 or 1.8 maybe. But so it was not really, it wouldn't get out of its own way. And it was poop brown. So it was poop brown metallic. And it was a 4-door. And it was the perfect car to give to your son when putting a motor in it and rebuilding a motor would cost more than the car is ever going to be worth. So my dad had the 78 Dodge Omni with the, same like 1.8 or whatever in it. And it had cracked the head gasket and cracked the block. And we had read a Popular Mechanics article about using egg whites and broken ceramics. So ceramic powder and egg whites. And then you make a paste and you put it inside the cylinders where the cracks are inside the cylinder walls. And you drop light bulbs down inside of it, and that cooks the solution and hardens it into a ceramic crack filling thing. Okay. Right. Now, keep in mind 2 things. I'm already telling you, this was 1984-56 when this happened.
They didn't have JB Weld back then? Or?
Again, for the inside of a cylinder.
Yeah.
Right.
Well-
But this was supposed to be the solution. Now, to give you an idea where we were on the socioeconomic scale, my family,
This was a practical.
this was
viable-
1986.
Yeah.
This was a 1978 Dodge Omni with well over 100,000 miles on it. And the practical solution wasn't buy a new motor and fix it.
Eggs.
The practical solution was eggs and ceramic paste, right? And I will do some research on this to find the article that explained how to do it.
Sure.
But my dad, who was no stranger to rebuilding motors, that's where I got my skills, decided this was going to be the right solution for his back and forth to work beater car. Okay, so we did this, and we did that. You run a bead hone through it when you're all done and clean all the shit out and everything else. We did it, and it worked. Now, not only did it work, but the end story to that particular car is that after selling the car with a cracked block and knowing full well that my dad was going to hell for selling a car with a cracked block and not making that be the biggest word in the Trading Times listing that said 1978 Dodge Omni, 127,000 miles, cracked block fixed with eggs. Should have been the listing. That should have been the end of the listing. And I think he sold it for $500. He didn't make any, it wasn't like, ooh, we really ripped somebody off. But it was a young fellow of ethnic descent with his wife and 3 kids. You're going to hell.
Yeah.
The guy showed up at our house a year later. And we were like, well, the other shoe has finally dropped.
Yeah.
High five, it took a year.
Right.
And he said, do you have the warranty paperwork for the tires?
No shit.
Because one of the tires failed, and he remembered that they were like relatively new tires, and there was some warranty on them that, you know, he was hoping that we would have the warranty paperwork. And I was kind of like, it was one of those things where I was like, you're still driving that. It's been a year. Oh yeah, we put 6,000 miles on it. Take the kids to school, 2 baby seats in the back and the whole deal. And it works. It's driving. Haven't had any mystery maintenance done to it or anything. You know, didn't get in a collision. They had to replace the motor.
Any sudden cravings for toast? And
right. Yeah, exactly. But the guy's still driving it. So, well, but that's the story of the other Dodge Omni. But the story about the 1980 Dodge Omni that I had is that it did also have a blown motor. Mm-hmm. So the catalytic converters on these, the technology was pretty shitty. And the catalytic converters would plug up and they would tend to overheat the engines and the engines would crack the blocks. And that was neat. That was not even unheard of with Dodge products well into the 80s and 90s. Okay. They're just like, quality is job none, right? So it's a Dodge. What were you expecting?
Get out of the way.
They don't call it the Anti-Chrysler for nothing, right? So that was my laser. It was the Anti-Chrysler. Anyway, I digress. I had to put a motor in it. So I couldn't find this pathetic 1.8 liter, whatever the fuck motor it was, because the early ones had Volkswagen engines in them.
So you LS swapped it?
Oh, one better.
Oh.
So because there were no 5-speed manuals were kind of hard to find.
Sure.
And a 5-speed manual, 1.7, whatever the fuck it was, liter 1980 Dodge Omni motor, they were all being used in the other ones that had blown up motors.
Right.
But it turns out a lot of the Dodge Omni 2.2 GLHs got crashed. Because a 2.2 Dodge Omni GLS is a front-wheel drive car with copious amounts of torque steer. Mm-hmm. And when you put it in the hands of a 21-year-old who's on his 14th payment, they wrap him around trees all the time. And the car is generally a write-off, but the motor inside the car is relatively cromulent. Mm-hmm. So I bought a motor for $500 or $600, and I put a 2.2 liter fuel-injected motor where there used to be a piece of shit 1.7, and it was a really fun little car with 200 series tires on it in the metro parks.
Oh yeah.
And I would go by Squire's Castle and I would just be lifting up the inside front wheel on every turn and just like pegging this thing through the turns like it is full Group B World Rally class.
Yeah, and when you pass Squares and you hang a right on that road, that's when the fucking I don't even know how
impossible.
The road doesn't cover itself.
It is the best. Yeah. Like that whole series of turns. If you've got a little hot hatch front wheel drive with sticky tires on it, you can have some fun. Yeah. And so that was when I got my license taken away the first time. So yeah, it turns out like 75 and a 30 in the metro parks.
Tinker's Creek got me 125 and a 25.
Oh,
I lost my license for 2 years.
So the metro parks around here is a cruel mistress because it is amazing, but it is tempting but punishing. And Roy McKinney said that they got a ticket on the scoots in the metro parks. Oh, yeah. And it was $300.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
So it's not even like it follows the pay scale of the city it's in. I think the metro parks has their own special fining system. So buckle up, Buttercup.
Me and John got this close. There were cars that were like what we were going to be doing. They were doing. They were leaf sightseeing.
Oh, they were peepers.
And so it's 30 miles an hour, but they were doing 17.
Oh!
And so me and John, about 2 or 3 cars, we did the old, well, we're just going to go, And now we're doing 80. Yeah. And then, so there's another set of cars that come up and we're like, fuck that. So now we're good at this. We hit these turns and we come around and we're looking like, okay, we're going to do this car. And then in front of that car was the Ranger. The Ranger. We're like, and like we were hoping that he wasn't looking back because we were literally like,
I'm like, brake light.
That was Morse code.
No.
That was Morse code. Fuck.
Yeah.
Wow. And
not this one.
For people who do not just blast past it. Oh, that would be he'd be so happy. And it would be one of the guys we know.
Yeah.
Right? For a fact it would be one of our friends, one of the people that we work with the whole zero.
But I think at that point, he'd
motorcycles.
just have to do something. That wouldn't have been good. There would have been nothing good coming out of it.
No. And I would never want to put one of our officer friends in that awkward of a position.
Right.
To just be like, well, you ever heard of Cleveland Moto? You know?
You guys are doing 85, crossing a double yellow line, passing people.
Illegal passing, left of center on the double yellow.
And there are no real straightaways.
No, and remember too that I've seen people make this mistake. They're like, oh, well, those are just park police.
Oh, no.
Those are just
They're
rangers.
licensed everywhere.
Exactly. The rangers in the metro parks are just as powerful as state troopers.
Yep.
They have the exact same powers. They have the exact same arrest authority. They have the exact same points system. So 12 points adds up real fast in the metro parks because it's like instantly like now it's reckless just because. Now it's reckless because everyone else is trying to look at leaves.
Yeah. But you know what I forgot to mention? So we were going to meet at Edgewater at what, 11:30 or something?
11:45.
11:45. Yeah. And so I left with plenty of time. And 2 seconds after I left my house, it started to rain really hard.
Yeah, it was.
And then it started to hail. And I was on my green bike, and I'm like, plastic doesn't dent.
What the shit?
I just laid on the gas tank. I just laid over it so nothing could hit the metal.
Yeah.
And so I'm getting mauled. I can only do 20 miles an hour. It takes me like 45 minutes to get down there.
Holy
Everybody
crap.
had left.
Oh, they'd all fucked off.
And then I get down there, and it's completely dry because the rain
so
never
you look
went
like an
to
idiot.
that side.
It never went that far.
So now I'm like, you're late. It's raining. Unfortunately, I was completely soaking wet.
Oh, you showed up with the moisture to prove that you weren't lying. Yeah.
This old guy needed a chamois. He's like, my bike got all dirty. It's all. He's trying to wipe it off and everything.
Fucking ridiculous, man. Oh man, people who know me know I don't like group rides. I don't. I've never been a fan of group rides.
Well, you're not going for usually it's not a ride. It's just like you're just in a parade. Yeah. Doing 20.
Yeah, I just don't like it. I've been hit 2 or 3 times on motorcycles, and it's always been in a group ride situation where I saw the bad thing happening and they didn't.
Right.
So I'll see the bad thing happening and I'll have my exit strategy figured out and I'll miss it. When we had the guy go down on the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride, that guy was right in front of me. Mm-hmm. He tried to pass a car on the left and the car was turning left.
Yeah, not good.
So the car turned left directly into him, but he blew past me.
That same thing happened to me with this guy. I slowed down. We went through Meadow Lane. I was going to do a U-turn and go back down. He's coming around the left of me. He's like, whoa.
What the hell? Yeah. And I've been hit. So the 3 times I've had motorcycle collisions, collisions with other motorcycles, it's always been from behind. Yeah. And it's a very freaky feeling because you're like, I'm just doing my thing. And in a panic situation, I'm going to exercise as much energy as I can. I'm going to, stop that bike as fast as I can. I want to maintain my safety margin. I want to maintain my bubble of safety around me. So if this guy's going down or having a crash type experience, I'm going to be not so much thinking about the guy behind me. Right. And we all know that the problem is
I didn't fuck up, but whoops.
So the accordion effect, right? And so that accordion effect, and one time I got hit, it was in a group ride. And it was there's a thing in Cleveland called Louis Run. Mm-hmm. And the Louis Run is like this thing that happens pretty early in the year. And it's a big, big ride, thousands of bikes. And it's very, very Harley centric, right? It's very much, freedom. Yep. And they ride out to a bar called the Peppermint Stick that used to be out there. And it's a very much an East Side thing, but it's kind of like it's the official start of the riding season for many, many years. And I used to do this Louis Run all the time. And I did Louis Run on my 1945 WLA Harley Davidson. I do it on all kinds of different bikes. And the one year I'm doing the Louis Run on an otherwise pristine Honda CBX. And kind of like, got the big dick energy. I'm out there with a 6-cylinder and kind of like doing my thing. And it's like 99% Harley Davidsons around me. And I'm like, my shit's made in America. So fuck you. Like my bike was made in Ohio. Yeah. So anyway. And it was a deal where it was like, I saw the crash happening. So I saw the crash happening and I was like, okay, well, there's my line. I'm taking my line and bop, 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 and I'll stop. And I did bop, 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 and I stopped. And then the fucking accordion ran into the back of me. Mm-hmm. I got hit 5 times. Mm-hmm. And then every time you get hit, when you're going 0 miles an hour, you get hit and your world goes to shit. Mm-hmm. And then you get hit again and your world was already to shit this way. Now it's to shit that way. And then you get hit the 3rd time and now your bike's hitting the bike that you didn't hit the first time. Mm-hmm. So now my bike is in the middle getting a fucking malachi crunch from these fucking assholes. And I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah. You know, and again, I was a younger person then. That CBX was my universe. Right. Like all of the money I had ever touched in my life was in that bike. Yeah. So having it happen that way was traumatic. And then also, you know, motherfuckers are just like, wow, man, that's fucked up, dude. You know, you could have totally did this or you could have totally did that. I'm like, you ran into me.
Yeah. You could have done a lot of things.
Let's start talking about what you could have done.
And what you're going to do.
You didn't have enough assured clear distance, and that's why you ran into me. Yeah. I didn't run into him.
Right.
Until 2 more people ran into me. Yep. So fuck you and fuck you and fuck you and fuck you and fuck you. Somebody's paying for my fucking bike.
But you know what? The attrition rate of those kind of rides would just pale compared to back when we used to do the Rider for Life sport bike rides. Yeah. We'd have 400 fucking ass clowns doing wheelies. And then you'd have all these dudes in the middle of a pack.
Right.
At 70 miles an hour wheeling, 12 o'clock. So they're looking at the fucking sky.
Yeah, they can't see in front of them.
And then 7 people stop. Yep. And now you got a dude wheeling into the back of 17
Some
people.
of my favorite videos.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I like to call those, had that coming.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah.
Fuck around and find out. And that's the thing. That's why it's really hard to get me to go out on a group ride, only because I have been in that scenario in downtown Chicago. I've been in that scenario outside of town.
Where'd we start, though? For the ride after we met everybody.
County line.
No, but where in the group?
We started toward the back, but then we quickly jumped right up to the front.
Well, that's what you do. You start in the back, and you see who sucks, and you figure it out, and you see who's right, and then you
make a mental note.
Yeah, and then
there was this big gap in the middle because somebody was on a 50cc, probably a 2-valve Vespa or something.
Oh man,
and a Honda Spree.
And just, it was like, why the hell is there this big gap? And we're like,
yeah, because they can go 30. Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh man, to me that, you know, I don't enjoy it. And you know, I've led the DGR for 10 years. And I go out and I act like an asshole and slide sideways into the intersections and the whole deal. But that's because I'm in predator mode. Mm-hmm. So I get to be in full, like my knob is set to attack, right? So the knob is set to attack, and that's great because then I'm completely in charge of my own universe.
Right.
And it's better if the 200 people I'm passing don't know I'm there. And then I leave enough room so they could do something stupid.
Yeah, I mean, when you're doing, trying to stop traffic and everything, you're flying down in between the yellow lines.
Yeah.
There's 2 bikes over here and a car going this way.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's the thing. You know what he didn't do is he didn't have a rider prep to talk because he had a blocker in the first 2 intersections.
Right.
The blocker's there blocking traffic.
Yeah.
And all the people on scooters just stopped and were waiting at the light.
Right.
We're like,
because you know damn well Jesse Noblet, like Jesse's going to pull out, Jesse's going to block. We have a lot of people that we ride with that are very good blockers.
They were there on their new Indians.
Brand new Indians. They got new Scouts. And we have a lot of people in our group that we ride with that are fantastic safety officials. Like they're really fucking good.
We weren't though.
Getting to the intersection, blocking the traffic, waving and smiling, and not creating an incident.
We're too busy trying to turn like this.
Everybody's like, oh, they must have watched a video.
It's a new technique.
It's a new technique. Not sponsored by John Del Vecchio and Corner in Confidence. It's it. I was waiting to see though if there was a follow-up Fortnite video where he kind of is like, where he just takes an opportunity to be like, look, man, I never said do this at 70.
Right.
Like he was like, the 25 miles an hour thing was implied.
Yeah.
Right.
And even at 25, it's kind of interesting. It's like,
I've never found it to be an effective method of getting my job done. I mean, I would always rather.
I think the sides of your tires are way stickier than the bottom, though. I'm just saying. I feel like you get more traction on your sidewall
out of it. Yeah, because that's the part where you don't use very much of, so it's fresher.
All that fresh rubber.
It's all that fresh rubber.
It is though. I'll give you this. I'll tell you this.
Get you to be a dark sider yet?
If your friends,
I'm gonna be a front dark sider.
Yeah, right.
If your friends,
that reminds me, John. Your bike, the Versus it's like the back wheel is flat. It's got a flat spot on the tread all the way around.
Well, I can't help it.
What do you mean it's a flat spot in the tread the whole way around?
I mean, it's like this, and then
it's highway driving.
Oh, it's highway driving. Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude.
But I mean, that's
right.
It has 3,000 miles on it now.
That's highway driving.
But
a lot of that was back and forth to work.
If you have friends that are making fun of your chicken strips, that off kilter turning.
Oh, it burns them up.
Yeah, you look like a fucking chain. You look like fucking Valentino Rossi.
You're like, I'm out past the edges.
You
need to do a whole bunch more of that.
Yeah. I got snot balls out of the edge of my fucking tread just hanging off. Look at me. I'm good.
Normally what I would like to do is just do a burnout and be like, kind of reprofile your tire. But
have you ever done this? When I'm on the highway, occasionally I'll lean like 3 degrees. Just in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm burning some.
Just to even it out.
Yeah.
Right. Because the road's off camber. The road's a camber
like,
to it.
I'll lean this way and that way.
Yeah, just to keep them, keep it honest.
Try to keep
keep it honest.
Or if it gets really bad, just overinflate your tire by about 10 PSI and that fucker rounds right out.
Whoa, man. We have bikes that come into my shop all the time where the joke here is like 99% of the motorcycles that show up here at the service department have 8 pounds of air in them.
Yeah.
It's almost
something's
a lock.
wrong with the steering. It's got to be the bearings.
Always a lock. Like, and they come in and they're like, yeah, I just brought it in for my annual service. And I'm like, you rode here. Cool. Awesome. I love you, man. You rode in for your annual service. That's great. I'm going to get you to the front of the line. Super cool. Great. Get on the bike to literally just turn the bike around in the parking lot and put it in the service department. I'm like, what the Jesus Christ?
I was just going to ask, how the hell do they even turn it? Like when they're in their garage or whatnot, you're like, no.
It's not even like it's like, oh, there's 8 PSI in the back tire and 26 in the front. Like, oh, they got a leak or something. No, it's a dead even 8 and 8. And I'm like, how the fuck? And so I will always make a point to be like, did you ride here?
Yeah.
As they're wiping their helmet off. Well, yes, I did. On that. Yes, I did. The Rebel 500. Yes, I did. You rode that here. What's wrong? Well, come on over here. Yeah. And then I'll do the thing because I have a calibrated foot. I kick a tire. I can tell you what the PSI is. Right? So I boot the tire. And it sounds like I just kicked a fucking glazed donut. Right? Bonk. The sound just goes away. Right? There's no resonance. There's no nothing. It's just deflated as fuck. And I'm like, yeah. You should do that every time you ride a motorcycle.
When's the last time you put air in there? Well, got the tires on 5 years ago, so...
Oh, no. This is a Rebel 500. Oh, she bought the bike 2 years ago.
Oh, 2 years, okay.
And she goes, when do you put air in it? And I went, always.
Oh,
never stop putting air in it. When you buy a bike here, we give you a keychain that has a fucking air pressure gauge on it, right? And I'm like, you have to check the air pressure every 30 days.
Yeah.
Even in the winter? Wow. No, if you're not riding it, you don't. But anytime you're planning on riding it or riding it, you should check it every 30 days.
And of course, in the spring, you got to change the winter air.
To the winter air, of course. Yeah, get rid of that. Yeah. And so I'm trying to explain to her why you have to do this. And she is 100% not getting it. And she goes, well, if the tire was really that dangerous, if it was that dangerous, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to sell me tires. If that tire was that dangerous, a light would have come on.
Oh, wow.
And I went,
well done.
You're right. You're right. You're right. I was trying to sell you some tires.
I can't wait for my next service. I'm going to fucking just deflate them completely.
Yeah. Oh,
just ride here, deflate them.
Yeah. Just dump them right out. Yeah.
Tire pressure? What are you talking about?
It's fine.
This thing doesn't have GPS.
I got amazing grip.
Go the other way and put like 110 in it. So when they hit the thing, it just blows their head off.
Okay. So here's the one we had in here the other day. Was the guy brings the bike in and he says, well, the tire's it's making a weird noise. There's a suspension problem or a bearing problem. It's grinding. Oh, okay. Hey, all right. Not my circus, not my monkeys. That's fine. Bring it in. GSXR or whatever, right? Go to roll the bike in and holy shit. Yeah, it's hard to push. It's straight up kind of hard to push. And I'm like, well, that is fucking weird. It's hard to push. And so I'm like, okay, brake calipers got to be hanging up. Sport bike, no maintenance, whatever. Brake calipers hanging up. It's not in the front. Kick both calipers. It's not in the front. It's hanging up at the back. Okay, rear brake. Not too many people on sport bikes use their rear brake, so it's probably hung up. It's not. And I look at the fucking tire. This tire is not for this motorcycle.
Oh.
This tire is supposed to be a 180 by 55 by 17. Yeah. And this tire is like a 170 by 85 by 17. This is a tire from a motorcycle from like 1983 when side profile tires were really tall. and it was inflated to 65 PSI.
Wow. I was rubbing with them.
And it had a tube in it.
Oh.
So there was an inner tube in it. And so then I realized, of course, it's not pushing, and he's here, and I go, and I look, and the tire's all shiny because the tire's been rubbing against the sub fender, right? It's rubbing against the sub fender. Fortunately, it hadn't hit the swing arm. And I'm like, again, you rode this in here? Yeah. And you didn't notice that it's like literally you have a friction brake like on a go-kart rubbing on your back tire, and it's probably making bad smells because the tire is glaze hardened. The entire thing looks like an old brake pad. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like, so your tire is hitting your sub fender, almost hitting your swing arm in the front. Your tire is not a 180 by 55 by 17 that it should be. Mm-hmm. It's a 160 by 75 by whatever.
A
so
lot
the
of people
aspect
don't
ratio's
know.
all wrong.
Yeah, they don't know that. They just
and
know
he
it's
says,
17. It's fine.
I ordered the tires online. I told him what bike I had. I'm like, you told them. You said you ordered it online. You clicked in what bike you had. The only way I can think is like he ordered tires for a Suzuki GS 550.
Oh, yeah.
To go on his GSXR 600, right? And that's what they sent him. But he said, when I got the tires, I took it to a place to mount them up. And they said they wouldn't mount them on my bike because they were tube type tires. And so they wouldn't install them for me because the bike is a tubeless bike. And it is. And I said, so the solution was to buy some tubes? He goes, yeah, the guy sold me some 17-inch tubes. And I said, did he mount them for you? He goes, no. He told me, but I could watch a video online to mount the tires up myself. So this fuckknuckle took the tube home, his tire that he had bought into the shop to have mounted. And this is why, if you're an idiot, have a shop do your work for you, because they will catch shit like that. So he went home and somehow managed to conquer a tire change on his own some lonesome and mounted the completely wrong tire with an inner tube into a wheel that's set up for a tubeless configuration. Golf clap, because he didn't pinch the tube. Yeah, well done. Yeah. Well done. Now, a pinch tube would have saved his fucking life, but as it is, he comes in. So then he's like, well, I'm like, you need a new tire. So you need a valve stem, or do you have the valve stem that you took off because it's a tubeless?
Right.
Do you have that? I can replace it, or I can just sell you another one for $6. And you need a new tire because you need the tire
that's supposed to be
that has the numbers stamped on it that are stamped next to the tire on the swing arm. See, this motorcycle tells you what tires to buy. Mm-hmm. I bought the right tires. Not according to your swing arm, you didn't.
Right.
I will show you in print where they're not the same on the tire and the swing arm. So yeah, you can go 5 millimeters different maybe if you're weird, right? But this is wrong in every way, and it's a tube tire. So one, I will fix this for you. I will unfuck your situation. But we do need to order you in this tire because I don't have any of this tire in at this moment because there's a bit of a logistics problem in America. So we're short on certain tires.
Right.
Can I bring my own tire in? Oh, please do. Now, I'm not supposed to let you leave this shop on this motorcycle in this configuration because it's an obvious safety problem. But I'm about to walk into the building. And if you disappear, I know nothing about it.
Right.
And I'd really rather if I didn't have to push your non-pushable bike in the shop later on tonight. That'd be great. So I'm like, what I'm saying in code is when I come back out here, I don't expect you to be here, but you can show up back here with a tire that matches the numbers that are on the swing arm, and I will install it correctly and you'll be good to go. Well, what's that going to cost? $90. Right? $90. I'll dismount this piece of shit. I'll put on the new piece of shit.
It's not that hard to push. Fuck it.
Right? It'll be fine.
Never came back.
Never seen him again.
Of course not.
Your buddy Tom on Facebook, Pennington or whatever.
Yeah, Tom Pennington. Yeah.
He posted something I thought was pretty humorous. He was like, customer came in complaining of clutch problems, possible transmission issues and everything, and was freaking out. Every time I hit the gas, I hear crazy clicking noises. The bike hardly moves forward.
Yeah.
He goes, after two minutes of eyeballing the bike, and he shows the picture.
Sprocket, no teeth?
Nothing. There was nubs. There was like little
Sprocket, no
fucking
teeth.
nubs.
We get one a year. One a year. We get the bike comes in with the sprocket with no teeth.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious too. And I always get a kick out of it because the way sprockets and chains work is like they'll work when they're so fucked up. Like a fucked up chain and a fucked up sprocket, they work remarkably long. Like, it's crazy how long a chain and a sprocket will actually get you down the street. And it makes weird noises and shit, but chains are noisy anyway. Mm-hmm. But once they start to eat each other, once they've decided that these pins and these teeth don't line up anymore because the teeth are cut or the pins are stretched or whatever, once they decide they've got an appetite for each other, it happens fast.
Well, and that's the thing. It's funny. Like, you'll see people like, they want to get the gold X-ring chain because it looks sweet. You know, I'm guilty of that. Yeah. But they'll buy the $200 chain. Yeah. But then they won't change the sprockets. They won't buy 2 sprockets. $22 each.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, and then wonder why this chain shit. It only lasted 2,000 miles.
Yeah.
You know?
The chain's clearly garbage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's okay. Yeah. Yeah. Your fucking sprocket should say Makita on the side.
Right.
For the way that it's digesting metal.
Right.
Like, it's fantastic.
And if you start with the new chain and new sprockets on both, they'll mate to each other.
Absolutely.
And they'll last for a long
time. So we get one a year that we're just like, this one's for the wall. This is the one we're hanging up this year. It's the front, you know, the Sunstar sprocket. You know, it's the cheapest aftermarket sprocket anybody could buy. And it's like it literally just looks like a disc.
I have a sprocket question for you.
Okay.
So on my FJ09, I replaced them with the stock sprocket front and like a better sprocket, same size in the back, and the new X-ring chain this year. I'm trying to cut down on this vibration. So I just, like, it has a weird vibration between 4,800 and 5,000. It always has, it's complained by a lot of bike owners and stuff. Yeah. I found an article the other day that said that, so this stock, the front sprocket has 2 rubber kind of O-rings mounted to or fused to the side of it. Makes sense. When the chain comes in, the bottom of the links kind of run on the rubber, and it's supposed to de-vibration the bike.
Makes sense. Yeah.
But I wonder if that's causing the vibration, because now the chain's not really, it's getting...
There's one way to find out.
Oh, yeah, I got to change this. But I just didn't know. I'm asking, have you heard anything about it? I have not. No, okay.
I have not. Yeah. But I mean, most modern motorcycles, the chain runs on a nylon runner. Yeah. That basically is the length of the top of the swing arm.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, and that's an item that's very frequently overlooked. It's amazing how long they last. Mm-hmm. But, you know, that is something that the chain literally, when we're kids, when we're checking chain slap and shit on motorcycles, that, you know, the Honda manual from 1973 says 1 to 3 inches of chain slap, you're okay. Well, you get into a modern motorcycle and the chain is literally running on that rail the entire top of the swing arms. You're like, fuck, man, you know, because our swing arms have so much more travel than they ever did before. Mm-hmm. And because the angle between our sprocket and our final drive sprocket is different than it was back in the 70s and 80s when it was pretty much a straight line.
Right.
So it's gotten to be different. But it is, I have not heard about that, but I do know that they do make a vibration dampener.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like the rubber, like, so where the chain pockets would come into the sprocket pocket, the rubber sticks up about a millimeter. Just to kind of pad that. But I just wonder if that's not
some kind of a dampener.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. And again, that's another item that you're looking at that going, that will not survive 3,000 miles.
Yeah, right.
So they just put it on for initial customer satisfaction.
I'm sure. Yeah.
There's a whole lot of shit in motorcycles. I work on them every day. There's a lot of things that manufacturers put on your motorcycle that is there so that you'll give a 5-star rating. You know, the initial customer satisfaction surveys, the motorcycle industry hangs their hat on that shit. And that's why people are like, BMW has the highest initial customer satisfaction rating. Harley Davidson, second highest initial customer satisfaction rating. Both of them have the absolute lowest reliability ratings. So these two motorcycles that have the worst reliability ratings wildly advertised to the world that they've got the highest customer satisfaction, right? So that's just... And there's all kinds of shit like that. That's like, oh, there's this dampener here, this buffer here, or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
And they're all just sacrificial. So, you know, you ride the bike for... remember the chain oiler that was on all the old CB750s? So when did they quit? Was that 74, 75?
Oh, it'd probably be 76 is the last year for the K. I think there's a K6.
I think it might have been.
But then you go 77 and 78 are different.
No. So the chain oiler system that Honda had designed.
Which I've never really looked into. I've never actually taken the cover off and looked to see exactly what it is.
And it is a gravity-based lubrication system that essentially they made different products. There were aftermarket Scott oiler kind of things that existed that had a reservoir of oil that just had like the thing you feed mice with, you know, the thing in a ferret cage. So it's not leaking on your floor in your garage. until you're going down the road and the chain is moving past it. And then it's just drizzling some oil onto the drive chain, which is hilarious, right? It's that whole idea of just like, oh, just fucking oil, just put it everywhere, right?
In England, it makes sense because they ride in snow and slush.
Absolutely.
And fucking whatever.
Well, I mean, that's the idea behind the Rail McCoy, right? I mean, it did that for trains. Like it dripped oil where it needed to.
Exactly. It's the whole concept. And having owned several of those Hondas that were pre-76 or pre-70, 76 or 77,
75,
right. that I've owned them, I have never bought one of them ever in the history of my life that had oil in the reservoir. Right. There was something that was like, okay, maintenance checklist. All right. Squeaky front brake pad. Got it. Check. You know, like there are things, if you know a Honda CB750, you know that every Honda CB750 is going to have these certain things. You know, head gasket weeping. Check. Right. They all do. You can't get away from it. And chain oiler empty. Check. You know, and it's just like, it's a guarantee. If I ever would in my life had bought one that still had oil in it, I would fucking fall over because it was so impossible that anybody at any dealership was like, yeah, we're going to fill that up for you every time you come in.
I always like to turn single beepers on those.
Fuck yeah. Yes.
Turn your turn signal on. Beep.
Yep.
Beep.
Yep.
Beep, beep.
And because it was switchable. Yeah. So they designed into the switch so that you could have the turn signal beeper beep or not beep based on how you use the switch. It was really clever. So again, Yamaha had self-canceling turn signals. Good for Yamaha.
On the XS7.
Right. Harley Davidson had self-canceling turn signals, still does to this day. BMW's got, you know, they didn't back then, but the idea, but then it is hilarious when people come into my shop every single day and say, oh, does this bike have self-canceling turn signals? And I'm like, no. And they're giving me the gas face. And I'm like, what did you ride here on? Hold on. If I don't go out in the parking lot and see a Yamaha XS750 or a Harley Davidson or a new BMW, I'm going to call you somebody who read a book once or read a magazine article and now thinks that self-canceling turn signals are de rigueur on all motorcycles.
Because although at this point, they fucking kind of should be.
They kind of should be. Right. No, get me wrong. My Harley Davidsons, the self-canceling turn signals must be psychic. Because when I'm just doing a lane change, like just a quickie lane change kind of thing, I do the lane change and I look down to see if the thing's still flashing. Because if you've ever ridden with me, you'll see my left hand constantly pumps the turn signal canceller. I don't want to be the guy driving down the road with my turn signal on for 7 hours.
Smith.
So my wife looks over at me anytime I'm running, or you watch any of my YouTube videos, you'll see my left thumb is pumping that button for all it's worth.
Yeah, the button.
Just hitting it for no goddamn good reason. What you doing? Just turning it off, just making sure it's off, motherfucker. Yeah. And I do that. But yet the Harley, when I look down at the console, it's off. And I'm like, okay, well, this one, I'm doing a left-hand turn eventually when I get up to the position in the light and then I make the turn, or I'm doing a really long left-hand turn. And I'm like, I look down, I'm like, some bitch is still on. And then I'm straight again because it's all, gyro based. It's all like
something to do with
switch
speed
sensor
too. So if you're at a constant speed, it knows that you probably don't need it on that much.
How can it do that so well and do everything else so poorly? Okay, seriously.
Tim was a very good engineer and he had one job, and he's been working at Harley for 30 years.
I love my 103. I love it dearly. I think it's one of the best Harleys I've ever owned. But its fueling, is a term we use very loosely around here. But it's like, that bike has never had the same idle ever, right? That bike is like, you pull up to the red light and it's like, gonna stall. And then the next time you pull up to a red light, it's like, you pull away from the light one time and it's like, yes, let's go. You pull up to the light next time and go to leave. Hold on, wait a second. I'm like, I'm the same guy. I'm not even wearing different gloves. I drive the same course every fucking day. The Twin Cam 88 with all the modifications to the cam and with all the modifications to the cylinders, that bike's been breathed on heavily. It's got all the Screaming Eagle pieces on it. It's just angry. And if you want to know why Harley guys sit at the light and go rev, 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 because they're praying it doesn't stall. So that they don't have the ego kick of having to be like, oh, yep, I stalled my bike. Hold on a second while I get this shit together again. So they would just rather sit there and go, yabba dabba dabba do, yabba dabba do, yabba dabba do, all the time, just so they didn't stall the fucker. The Twin Cam 88 bike that I've got is just incredibly not happy. Like it just is, its whole life, it's operating under protest.
Does it have a loping cam?
It's got, yes, it has all of the things. And when you ask it for ferocity, it says, yeah, I know what you want. Fuck, I guess I'll do it. Whereas the 103 is like, okay, let's do that. You know, the 103 doesn't bitch about it. The
just a real quick thing.
It.
I was just doing some research, and here's eBay is showing a 1979 Honda CB 754
Oiler
drive chain Oiler.
Oh boy,
so it still was on those.
Yeah, that's
so maybe it's
I had
on
no
all
idea.
the single overhead cams until.
I mean, that was the end of it. So 78 was my CB 750 K8 was. I think that was the last year.
79.
So 79 was the last year you could get a single over cam, right? Yeah. Fuck, man. Yeah, 69 to 79. Pretty easy to remember. Because I do remember I did have my dad had that 1980 Custom, which was the dual overhead cam, and I wouldn't extinguish a flaming cat with that bike. That thing was, and no part of it. All it did was it just kept looking in the mirror, going, "I'm going to be a Sportster someday." And every time I'd look at that motorcycle would say back to me, "You could have had a Sportster. You could have had a Harley Davidson, but you got me instead. I'm a Honda, just like a Harley. I got an H in my name and everything." And meanwhile, I would look at the other side of the garage and see the 78 CB 750K, and it was beautiful. And it had like the badging on it was like nice, and it was gold relief, and it had a nice K on it, and it looked cool. 4 into 4
Is that the one you drove home in the winter?
Yeah, it was a great bike. And I mean, it was cool, and it was like black and orange and gold pinstripes. It was a very pretty bike.
Yeah.
But then I would look over at the other side of the garage at that 1980 CB 750 Custom in its shades of 3 different colors of blue and very metallic. And it was the color of my grandma's sofa. You could buy it in brown sofa and blue sofa. I think were the 2 colors the bike came in that year, was brown sofa and blue sofa. And
did it have a sissy bar?
They kind of came that way. And the seat was that horrible
King Queen.
It was from the factory King Queen seat. That's just the way they built them. That was it. But it just never was happy. The bike was like, it was perfect and it had no miles and there wasn't a blemish on it. And it was the perfect example of a CB 750 Custom, which is to say,
nobody wants it.
God.
They make the best cafe racers though.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the frame's going in all the wrong directions. Yeah. And that 85 mile an hour speedometer is very sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is.
The teardrop tank.
The teardrop tank. Oh, man. Oh, what a fucking train wreck, that bike. And again, I've had all these people that are like, oh, yeah, dual overhead cam's where it's at. I'm like, where you been?
Yeah.
Where it's at? No, not even a little bit. I'm pretty sure this motor was designed to self-destruct, right? Everything I can do easily on the single overhead cam motor, I can't do on the dual overhead cam motor. Right. Have you ever done cams on a dual overhead cam, a Dohawk? Because I haven't. John, have you ever done cams on a Dohawk, a dual overhead cam 750 Honda?
I had the head off of a 650 dual overhead.
You did?
Cam. Yeah.
I would
replace the head gasket.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. It wasn't that big a deal.
I didn't
have to take the motor out of the frame either.
Yeah. No, it comes off.
And then what was kind of cool is they had these little baths for the oil lobes.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
So what I didn't like is there were these rubber plugs because you had to tighten the head studs through the rocker boxes, and then there were rubber plugs to keep them sealed. So you had to replace those rubber plugs. But each one of the cam lobes was in a little bath. It held a little puddle of oil, so they were,
Yep. They would not run out. Yeah. The cams were. I had never.
Thanks for bringing me back to the podcast.
I did. I wanted to make sure you were back in.
Well, to be fair, I didn't want to bother you. You were practicing your reading, and I was very proud.
This poor guy.
I'm just thinking of all.
I told loving
all
stories.
the wrong decisions that have brought me to this point.
That literally got you to this exact moment in time.
What
right.
did I do?
Yeah. Here's an advertisement for the 1970, 79, or 1980 Honda CB 750 Custom in brown sofa. So this is, you can tell that they really wanted to promote this bike because the picture was taken with bad lighting. It really, there's no way that you can actually look at any part of the bike at one time and be like, oh yeah, that's cool.
I just wish they would have kept the Comstar wheels. That's something I
still think that the Comstar was one of those great things. Like, no, because there were Comstars that weren't tubeless. So I have to remind people, just because it's a Comstar does not immediately mean that it's tubeless.
Right.
You will fall into that trap and you'll be Comstars. They look kind of cool. They're technically several piece rims. It's a 3-piece rim.
Right.
It's all riveted together, but but it's tubeless. And you're like, Some. Yeah. Not all of them. Yeah. So they weren't all tubeless. Some were tubeless.
They look the best on the CX500 though, I think.
Oh man, the CX, and again, I wish that Stephen Hoffert were here just right now so we could wake him up to talk about a CX500. That would be the best ever. Just, hey, wake up. We're talking about your bike, because that again. Oh my God. If you listen to our friend Ryan talk about the CX500 he will swear to God he cornered that thing over so far that the handlebar grip hit the pavement. Mm-hmm. Right? I've heard him tell the story more than once. And
does he have 36-inch wide fucking handlebars?
Beach bars, maybe. Or just a pole, right? I don't know. But I've ridden a whole lot of CX500s, and I would never, ever describe their handling as crisp.
No.
Never, not once ever. And they've never seen one that had anything less than 30-year-old tires on it.
Right.
So I think they sold them with 30-year-old tires on them.
Well,
solid.
It's actually a tall bike. It has some clearance.
It's a really tall bike. And that V motor does have a ton of clearance. But you ain't getting the handlebars.
You're not going to be getting the handlebar on it.
You ain't getting the handlebars down. I don't care. I mean, look, I love you, dude, but you ain't getting the handlebars down. That is just not going to happen. I did find a picture of my grandma's sofa. That color, grandma's sofa blue. That's the fucking color right there. That's it. Yeah, 1981 Honda CB750 Custom, and there's just no. Like, that was the thing. It was like, we're going to put a really good paint scheme on these bikes. Like, I think Honda just put everything they had into that level of commitment on that motorcycle. But God damn it, if you look at the 78 CB750K and you compare it to the 1980 or 1981 CB750 Custom, come on, man, where are you going those handlebars? Like, why is the front end got to be jacked up like that? This is not a chopper. Like, there's a lot going on wrong with that motorcycle.
We want the bike to look like it's doing a wheelie even when it's not.
When it's standing still, right? The bike looks fast when it's standing still. No, the bike looks like it's trying to do a wheelie when it's standing still. That's not the same thing. Yeah, it doesn't count. But yeah, that's the bike I hate today. So there you go.
Silly question. So on most of these bikes, the exhaust seems to angle up.
Yes.
Why?
So the water goes in.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just so the water goes in. That's all it is. It's
It makes it more like that like that Evel Knievel wind up.
Well, isn't that why a lot of them rusted out too? Like, because water got in there and it just sits there. And
so what? Okay, well, here we go.
And I know this sounds stupid. I just didn't know if it was.
So there's
the
criminal.
There's the one.
There's the one that wrote the whole book on Submariner exhaust systems, right? So the Honda VF 700 Magna in all of its forms, so 1987, 1988, this bike, and you've heard us talk about it. It's got a solid rear disc. It's designed by Arlen Ness. The motor is it's the same motor out of the Interceptor and all the other good bikes. It's a wonderful bike in every possible way. It is cool. It has challenging styling. It's got the fake Ferrari fins on the side.
I don't know about that.
Right. Okay, to you. Fair game. To me, when I was 16 years old, I thought this motorcycle was exceptionally cool. 16-year-old me, right? But I also had a Flock of Seagulls haircut and other things, right? So that's it. It came in two colors. It came in the wineberry red and it came in this dark blue color, right? It was designed, it was designed so you could take the passenger seat off, so that you could have it as the single version or the double version. So the passenger seat and the rear sissy bar were easy to remove. But the concept of the bike is it's a very, very happy V4 motor in a kind of a hot rod.
Power cruiser.
Power cruiser, yeah, exactly.
Right up there with the ZL 900 Eliminator.
It was designed to give the Eliminator a run for its money. They had the Magna 650, so the V65 Magna, which no person should ever try to ride because it just kills you. First time you're like, look, it's 1100, but it's a cruiser. and then your ass goes through your face because it's just a ridiculous motorcycle to try to ride fast. This was a posing bike on its best day. It was, kicking around 70 horsepower or something or whatever.
Those Eliminators are fast.
The Eliminators were good. Yeah, the 900, 1000 Eliminators were a lot of fun.
That would be the same as a GPZ 900 motor.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And they had a 1000cc Eliminator as well, ZL 1000 Eliminator. But the riding position on those was also just fucking awful. The riding an Eliminator was not cool. They wanted the bike to look a certain way when the bike was parked, and they achieved that goal, and they should have went home. And then said, you just aren't supposed to ride this motorcycle. So, but when the Magna did, the reason I wanted to bring this up is I've owned a few of these. And if you got caught in the rain, as I would do all the time, and you'd start your Magna, it would spray water out of those pipes for a long time, like a very, very long time. And there are weep holes at the bottom of those pipes. There are these weep holes. But the weep holes were good like the day you bought the bike, and then they weren't good anymore because rust would fill up the weep holes, right?
Sounds like a boat starting.
But then eventually they make their own weep holes.
Yes, and that's exactly it. And this is one of those motorcycles where if you ever purchase one of these motorcycles and it does not have its exhaust, and you're like, oh, I'll just order a set.
Yeah.
No, you won't.
No.
Because the exhaust system, if you can find an exhaust system intact for a Honda Super Magna, because they're called Super Magnas, the unofficial name was the Super Magna. If you can find a set of exhausts on these things that's intact, congratulations, you are my new hero. But then if you have the mechanical acumen to actually install that set of exhausts, because a V4, everything's going the wrong direction. So it is extremely difficult to adjust the carburetors, replace the carburetors, remove the exhaust, replace the exhaust, and to do any sort of cam-based maintenance on that motorcycle. It is engineered to not be fucked with. And that falls into the category of let what the Japanese hath assembled, let no man disassemble that, right? So it is just based on no user serviceable parts inside at all, ever. So yeah, so that's it. And I still have a strange, weird soft spot for them. Like, I don't still love Dodges, but I do still love Honda Super Magnas. Yeah, do still like them. And every once in a while, somebody will bring one into the shop and I'll take it out for a ride and I'll cane it and I'll be like, shaft drive, V4. It's kind of cool. It's kind of fun. It's kind of great. Doesn't turn real good. Doesn't stop hardly at all. Back tires only available on, once when the cicadas come out. Yeah. So when the cicadas come out, you can buy the rear tire. It's like a PC 800. The rear tire is a little hard to find. But it does have that badass solid aluminum disc, and they're just weird bikes. But again, you look up what's up there right now. That's what came first. That's the pre-tariff. That's the pre-tariff 750, and that bike is also a series of sex crimes. Like, that's just a hideous fucking bike. So to go from that to this, or to this, that's a big change. To make that move in just a year. To be able to go from the 86 to the 87, well done, Honda. You gave us something that
interesting. If you see a guy on a V65 Magna,
yeah,
I guarantee you he somehow came from West Virginia.
Oh yeah,
every dude that I've ever met up here.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. The V65 Magna is sort of it's the Dyna. Dynas are to Harley Davidson what V65 Magnas are to Honda. Yeah. It is best operated by somebody just out on parole. It is usually the bike that you get from your new brother-in-law just before he goes to jail.
Right.
On the promise that you'll sell it back to him when he gets out.
Right. And then you see the dude and he's driving it with NBA jeans. You know what NBA jeans are?
Yes.
They came out in like 1980. Yeah. And they had all the basketball teams on the jeans.
Oh.
So if you see a guy in 2021 with NBA jeans, you know that fucker's been in jail for like 25 years.
This was the most ambitious marketing campaign from 1983. You see a guy on an actual drag strip wearing actual leathers, full head to toe race leathers on a V65 Cruiser doing a smoky burnout. Because I believe for 11 and a half seconds, it was the world's fastest motorcycle.
Gotcha.
Until something else came along. But it was freakish how powerful they were and the amount of shaft jacking they had because it's a drive shaft bike. Mm-hmm. And when you would lay hard into that motorcycle, everything went the wrong place. Like just all kinds of shit went wrong. It didn't have enough back tire because it only had one. Like everything on the bike was a terrible, terrible idea, but it was fucking fierce. And it was a very, very frightening motorcycle, but it was also horrendous to look at.
Yeah.
It was just really tough to look at. If you look at the bike on the left, which is a Sabre. So the bike on the left is a Sabre. The bike on the right is a Magna. They have the same basic running gear. And the bike on the left looks very handsome. It has stood the test of time. It has aged well. The bike on the right is Disco Queen of Montana. It is just, nobody thinks that's cool. And then you do meet the guy who thinks it's cool. And you're like, really wish I wouldn't have met you. Because it's the square headlight. Like, it's got every sin. It is literally every sin. Rear suspension travel, 2.7 inches. Front suspension travel, 73 feet. Yeah. Why? I mean, what did you need to accomplish?
Had the V30 Magna. That would be it was like the 500 Interceptor.
It was the 500 Interceptor. Yeah, absolutely.
Magniform.
Right. It was the same. It looked like a Magna.
Both rode it at one point. He gave me a ride home from football practice. It was belt drive.
It was belt drive.
You know what else? I wonder why Honda, every shitty Honda has the dual horns. Oh, I've never seen a good-looking Honda that has dual horns like
Shit,
that.
we may have stumbled onto something.
Yeah.
The guy in the picture is going 0 miles an hour. I'd like to remind you that the guy in the picture right now is going 0 miles per hour. Okay? Keep that in mind. He's going 0 miles an hour. What has happened, though, is he is launching the bike. So he has completely unloaded the 47 feet of wheel travel in the front. So his motorcycle right now, if you put the side stand down on that motorcycle, it would never touch the ground. Yeah. Like, that bike is 100% full on. It would have done, if it was any normal motorcycle, it would have done a wheelie 7 inches ago. But nope, no such luck. Yep, there's every V65 owner in Ohio. That's all. That's the whole of them. That's it. That's exactly it. Somebody pulled the fucking emergency inflation handle on his life preserver while he's riding his bike. But that is every guy that comes into my shop that has a V65. Every single one of them.
He's heading to the trawler.
He's literally, he is the deadliest catch.
They have the same radiator on the Triumph Rocket and the Thunderbird.
Yeah. Not my Thunderbird.
No, not yours.
No. The new Thunderbird.
Right. Not your turd bird.
No, right. The 1600 Thunderbirds.
That dude, when he called that shop to buy the fucking jacket, they made him buy two.
They stitched them together for
Arrow
him.
stitch. They were like, "Sir,
yeah."
Did you just pull a Whoopi Goldberg thing?
Well, but here's another thing. This is Honda had the greatest advertising back then. I want to tell you that the picture we saw earlier, the guy in the full race leathers on the quarter mile, the ad literally says, "Bad news travels fast."
Yeah, what the fuck? That's the stupidest ad I've ever seen.
It's a full spread.
That's what it says. It's a full spread. They paid a lot of money to say, "Bad news travels fast." It does a 10.8 in the quarter mile at 124 miles per hour. That is a very quick bike.
It is.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
That's a fast bike. Of course, it does still look like
that.
Yeah. It looks like a child who saw a picture of a Harley Davidson once, drew one, passed it off to a Japanese person, ran to Tokyo and said, "This is what Americans want." And that's what they built.
That was almost as bad as, I don't know if you guys saw recently, Samsung had like an ad campaign where they just they had some kind of an algorithm grab like hashtag posts of Samsung and then feature them in their own ads.
Oh no.
And so like the ads were like, bought phone, broke in 4 seconds. The next one was like, crack the phone, this thing sucks. And like it was on their fucking feed. It lasted for like 2 days and then it was gone.
It's gone. Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's the whole, I mean, come on, man. That bad news travels fast. Give me a break.
Is he hand shifting?
Oh, you're right. His left arm is down for added aerodynamic efficiency.
But wait, how could he even reach? That thing's fucking way down there.
He's got it down.
Right.
You're right. His hand is definitely down. Or he's doing that like super, like he must have his hand down.
Yeah.
He must be just going for ultimate aerodynamic efficiency.
Okay.
Yeah. But realistically on that motorcycle, you shouldn't be through all 5 gears in the quarter.
True.
So he shouldn't have the time to put his hand in because he should literally just be fanning the clutch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. he should be 3 gears and done, right? So anyway, I digress. That's just too much information. But anyway, so now we've determined that the V65 Magna is really, really bad.
Terrible.
Yeah. I do remember
Maybe
the ad
one
that
arm's
said,
up like this and one arm's down like this because the bike's shaft jacking.
oh, that's a real thing, because that bike is probably leaning to the right super hard because they shaft jack like a motherfucker.
Well, for me, it looks like his hand. You can just see it just on where the tank breaks underneath.
Yeah.
You can see just in the front. It's almost like his arm's coming down. His hand is just right there under the tank.
It's weird.
Yeah.
That is a very weird picture. That is a very strange picture. And yeah, again, Honda marketing is normally kind of on point. And this one is not. My other favorite was this one. I remember this being in Cycle World was 0 to 55 faster than you can read this. And I'm like, well, that's kind of an insignificant statement. I don't know if that's important, right? But there's the same fella. So that's his racing posture. That's what he's all about. And again, doesn't it look like the biggest mismatch ever? Like you took the wrong action figure and put the wrong action figure on the wrong toy. Yeah. Like, wait a second, Timmy, that guy goes on this motorcycle and this guy goes on that motorcycle. The guy that goes on this motorcycle right here, he just has a pocket full of unpaid alimony checks.
It's even more than that. It looks like you had 2 Maestro 12 scale bikes.
Yes.
And you took the tank and seat and stuff off one and shoved it on the fucking wrong bike.
Yeah, it's a pretty horrible setup. I mean, it's pretty bad. And considering that in its day, there was a period of time in our lives as American citizens
You're putting out 120 horsepower. I mean,
yeah. It's 1100 cc motor. They're a fucking arm stretcher, man. It's a serious bike. But of course, they say sometimes it's a wolf in sheep's clothing, and in this case, it was a wolf in stupid clothing. Right? In this case, it was a wolf in a clown suit, because there's no way that you could ever get me to look at that motorcycle and go, fuck yeah, I want one of those. Because I got the 87 Super Magna because to me, it was like it solved all the problems. It looked like a motorcycle. I didn't want a motorcycle that looked like a Harley.
Right.
I wanted a motorcycle that looked like Arlen Ness's Fever Dream. And that's what I bought.
It did not solve all the problems.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. There are also some crimes on the Super Magna, like the distance between the gas tank and the triple trees. You could put another gas tank. The gas tank stops, and then there's a whole extra period of space where there's just dead space.
Yeah.
And then the handlebars start.
That's where the drink holder went, dude. You didn't know that?
Nothing. It is one of those things where it's just Honda was like, we want the forks to be kicked out.
Yeah.
Okay. We got to change the geometry.
Yep.
Well, why not? Because you're not going to like the way it looks. Okay, do it. They did it. And there's this big empty space in there that just looks horrible on the Super Magna.
Too bad it wasn't nowadays that it came out, because China would have a gas tank front end that you could add to it to solve the problem.
Right, they would. They would literally, right, yeah.
Color matched, and it's like 7 shades off and just stick it on there.
Yeah, a Cherubies would make an 8-gallon tank for a Super Magna.
Yeah.
So you could do the touring tank on your Super Magna.
Or like a fake cowl.
Yes.
Just to put on the front.
Oh, yeah. Some big vents on it. Some
Schnovel.
Big, yeah. A VMAX, man.
So that's how you pronounce that?
What?
Cherubies?
A Cherubies? Yeah. A
I
Cherubies.
always thought it was
Acerbis. Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not arguing.
I don't know.
I stand corrected.
Yeah. I mean, I could look it up if I had to, I suppose.
Aluminium.
No. Phil always has the proper pronunciation.
I try, it's an Italian word. So, yeah.
I'm not
So,
doubting.
anyway.
I'm not doubting. I'm just,
Yeah. I don't know. So
I was today years old when I learned that that's how you were supposed to say it.
Hey, go.
Oh, we still get in arguments around here about Akrapovic or Akrapovic.
Akrapovic, yeah.
Right. I mean, that still happens here daily.
Yeah.
I got an Akrapovic exhaust. Okay, that's fine. I got an Akrapovic exhaust. Okay, I guess that's fine too. Yeah. I have no problem with that. That's.
Well,
you know what?
I like the eBay ones that just change 2 of the letters around, so it's like Akapakovich or something like that. It's fucking great.
I got I'll slap a bitch exhaust.
That's fucking great. A slap a bitch. So they're saying it sounds like a Cherubies.
A Cherubies.
Yeah, a Cherubies. So, I mean, I'll play it and see if we can hear it. I don't know if we can hear it, but we'll try it.
You're going to talk with your other head?
Yeah.
Hey, Aruba.
A Cherubies.
Oh, a Cherubies.
Well, okay, so now I know how to sell.
Yeah, I was on target.
I feels like
A Cherbis. Yeah.
Hey, we have a record.
What's that?
First 3-hour podcast.
No way.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and for that, we apologize.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what we did do, though? We did do something we almost never do.
What's that?
We talked about motorcycles.
Oh, yeah.
The whole fucking time.
Yeah.
Yeah. No fucking squirrels in
Holy
this place
shit.
at all.
Yeah.
All right. So that's fun. Remember, you can contact us. I just looked. 2 more people bought the beanies.
Good.
2 more people bought the fucking hats.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's Oscar, warm up.
Hold on. You got to call this the Cleveland Moto Thneed because it can be a scarf, it can be a fucking dick warmer, a sleeve, a fucking whiskey holder.
We have need for a need.
We have a hard enough time selling it as a scarf, and now you're going to call fucking postmodern hipster shit you're coming up with. It's an artisanally crafted Thneed.
A Thneed.
Yes, it's okay. We're going to put it on our plumbus. It'll be great.
Yeah, right.
So fucking hell. All right, guys, that's it. Yeah, if you want to go ahead and get a scarf to match your fucking hat, I guess we're gonna have to fuck scarves now too.
Scarf them up.
Scarf them up, baby. Scarf them up. They're scarfing the hats up.
Fornicate with your toque.
Right, yeah. If you'd like to have intercourse with Don Chapeau, so you're good. Ride fast, take chances. Play us out here.
Bum, 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 bum.
Press the right button.